Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been a very long day, and we have not had a ton of time, so excuse us because we will be eating for the first few minutes of this stream.
By few, we mean like 20,
Yeah,
30.
it's engine food time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Not meant to sound like a slur, I realize it might have.
Yeah, we're really starting off strong.
That wasn't what I intended. I forgot that, like, you know, sometimes we've sort of developed our own language because we have so few people we hang out with.
Yeah. It's a I don't even know what to call it. A dialect?
That sounds about right.
As you would like to say, you'd be really funny in 2004.
I'd be so funny in 2004, dude.
Not anymore, though.
Dude, God nerfed me when he had me be born in 1997.
But you also be in Iraq.
That's such a good point. Also, for those...
I don't know. I think I would have had a good time in Fallujah.
No, they already heard it. So for those of you... wait, no.
Well, we joked about the intern cam last time, and you guys liked the idea, so we have an intern cam now.
Let me know when you're done chewing so I can go to you.
Okay.
I'm gonna boost. Wait, say something.
Hold me now.
All right, ready?
Did you?
All right.
Well, like, it's fine.
All right, ladies and
Everybody
gentlemen,
see me.
our intern, Sophie.
Hello.
She's not actually in a dungeon, don't
I got
worry.
2 cavities filled today, and now I'm eating Indian food, so that doesn't sound like a place you want to work. I don't know what does. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that camera angle's horrible.
Oh, that's terrible.
I'm gonna switch that. Well, you're standing up straighter now than you were.
Oh, I'm so sorry that I have proper posture now.
Well, you didn't earlier.
Yeah, because he was bent down with his food.
Yeah. I don't...
It's so valid. All right. Yeah. So why don't we talk about you being on Timcast?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Hang on.
Where's the milk?
What?
Somebody said, "Where's the milk?"
Listen, there's not always milk. Sometimes there's just milky boys.
We do make it seem like there's always milk.
That's a fair point, yeah. Anyway, now that we've gotten through the first few minutes and I've had time to put some food into my body for the first time today, that was probably the worst debate performance I've ever had in my life.
Well, let's be fair. I think part of the reason for that is because none of the people at the table really knew where you stood for the first, hour. And even once they did, they didn't recognize it as legitimate enough to actually be willing to have proper conversations with
See,
you.
that was the thing is we're sitting there and we're talking about stuff. We get to the point where I finally have something to say after the first 20 minutes. And Tim kind of Gordon, not Poole, kind of just offhandedly said something about the church I was a part of not having actual apostolic succession. I was like, no, we do. And he was like, no, you don't. And then just continued on. That was the end of the conversation. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, on Friday, I went down to West Virginia to represent the Protestant side in a debate where the issue at hand was the claim the Catholic Church is the superior form of Christianity. And I'll be honest, I did not feel prepared going into it.
Uh-huh.
I also accepted this debate when I was a Methodist. And between accepting the debate and now, I have started attending an Anglican Catholic church. And I like that church. I like being there. I'm very, very happy with that decision. But that also meant that I was kind of in a weird spot once I got down there. Now, Methodism, for those who don't know, is an Anglican-inspired denomination of Christianity. It grew out of the Anglican tradition. So it is not, for those who aren't aware of how Christian denominations work, after 1517, there was the Reformation. And the first section of the Reformation was with the actual Reform movement, out of which sprouted first Lutheranism and then Calvinism. Then, 50 years later, the Anglican Church comes about. And a lot of people think that the Anglican Church originated with Henry VIII and how he wanted to get divorced and the Pope wouldn't let that happen. I wanted to get into the fact that I was hoping they would come after the Anglican Church and be like, well, your church only exists because Henry VIII wanted to get divorced, because then I could have dropped some knowledge.
It seems like they just didn't even want to acknowledge it.
No, that was the whole debate, was just them not acknowledging anything I actually said.
Yeah.
and then throwing things out there to throw me off balance so they could ignore me.
Well, it was frustrating as a viewer because obviously I wasn't there,
Yeah.
but like because it was clear what you were trying to say, and what was the word they specifically were using that you didn't have that they were trying to claim that you didn't have? I know what it means. It means like the historical lineage.
Ordination.
Or no, it wasn't ordination.
Apostolic succession?
No, like the ecclesiasticsy or something.
Ecclesiology.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so they kept like coming down specifically on that. Can you, because in that moment, I know Poole asked about it, but like if you could elaborate a little deeper on what that actually is, what it means, and why that was such a hanging point.
Yeah, so ecclesiology is basically the concept of church structure and the study of the church itself, which is different from theology, which is the study of the belief and the study of God and what that means in a Christian context. And when I went down there, I was very prepared to talk about theology. I was prepared to talk about history. I was not prepared to talk about ecclesiology because up until about a month ago, I wasn't part of a church that had apostolic succession. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason I became an Anglican Catholic, or that I'm working towards being an Anglican Catholic, is because over the last year, I came to be of the opinion that a church probably should have that. That I think that the faults of Protestantism overall largely stem from the idea that if you just don't like what your church is teaching, you can start a new one, and that it doesn't matter. So that's how I ended up being and again, this is not me. I'm not sitting here trying to call anybody a heretic or saying their brand of Christianity is wrong. It's just that's my opinion on the matter. And I do want to be clear. From the outset of the debate, I said I'm a Methodist who is inquiring into the Anglican Catholic Church. And I also said that I was not there to represent the Anglican Catholic side of the argument, but more there to attack the Roman Catholic side. And again, I'm not saying the Roman Catholic Church is that Roman Catholics are going to hell or anything, which I think is something that I probably a difference of opinion that I would have had with the two other people sitting there was that anybody who's not part of my church is going to hell.
Well, that is something that came up, and it again, that wasn't a very clear delineation between the people at the table other than yourself, because you were pretty blatant about like, no, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
And they were like, actually you are, but I don't think they really elaborated on why.
They didn't. And also it was difficult because I was there arguing from my own personal perspective, and they kept trying to box me into arguing for the Anglican Catholic position, which is not something I was prepared to do, not something I was even trying to do.
Was that, and then also wasn't.
And over the past few days, yeah, no, it wasn't. And over the past few days, I've actually been talking with several Anglican Catholics over like Twitter and Discord and stuff like that, trying to understand, how I could have done better, because I've been very clear about this since literally that afternoon. I did not win that debate.
To be honest, I don't think anybody did.
No. Well, what frustrated me the most was that there was a moment in there where I think Jay and I could have won the actual debate regarding the actual subject matter being the Catholic Church being the superior form of Christianity. Mm. There was a moment in there when Jay and I together could have delivered the kill shot. Yeah, and that would have specifically been on temporal authority, which is the issue of, how much power does the Pope actually have, and can that position be justified from Scripture and tradition, which our opinion, both of us, him being an Orthodox Christian and me being an Anglican Christian, we hold the same opinion that the Pope does not have the level of authority that he claims, and that's why the Anglican Church exists. That was the primary difference, was the Council of Trent and what that brought into Christianity, which was largely the Catholic Church, the Roman pontiff having supremacy and being able to just bowl over Protestantism. And part of the issue that I didn't get to bring up was, at the Council of Trent, the Protestants were invited because Protestantism technically wasn't separate from the church yet. It was a reform movement that had been denounced. And the Council of Trent was part of the Counter-Reformation, the goal of which was to bring those people back into the fold. The problem was they weren't given votes. The Protestants weren't allowed to vote. So that's kind of like inviting people to a congressional meeting. Like, imagine if California had some problems with the way we were doing things and said that they wanted to see reform. And then we invited everybody to Congress and everybody got to vote except them.
Yeah, that would not go well for anybody.
No, it wouldn't make any sense. So I wanted to argue about that. I was ready to, okay, let's talk about the Council of Trent. Let's talk about the massacre at Béziers. Let's talk about the Dictatus Papae and the donation of Constantine and these other documents and suggestions by the Roman Catholic Church that led to the Reformation happening. Because the Reformation was never an attempt to separate from the Catholic Church. It was the various reformers saying, hey, I think something's wrong here. I think that the church has gone the wrong direction and is now in error, and I want to see it corrected. And that's the position that the Anglican Church held and holds to this day. That's the position that the Reformed churches held, and I think to a large extent hold to this day. And it's the position that the Orthodox Church held. In 1054, they weren't saying, hey, you know, we're just going to separate because we don't like you. Their opinion was the Roman Church has added things into Christianity that don't belong there, and if they're going to continue doing this, then we cannot be in communion with them because they're heretics. And the Anglican position's a little softer, from my understanding. And again, I'm still learning, but from my understanding, the Anglican position is basically like, we are the most correct embodiment of Catholicism. And because the Roman Church is in error, we cannot be in communion with them. The Anglican Church has on several occasions sought to rejoin communion with the Roman Catholic Church, with the Eastern Orthodox Church, based upon the idea that, like, hey, we will come back if you do these things. Mm-hmm. And those things were basically just get rid of this stuff that developed in the Middle Ages. And there's also things, you know, for example, the Roman Catholics believe in the bodily assumption of Mary into heaven, which means that Mary didn't die and was buried. She, in her entire human person, was just taken up into heaven. It's not in the scripture. It's not in the early church tradition. It's just something that was added to tradition by the Catholics during the medieval period. And they'll go, oh, well, you know, it was present here, and this church father believed this, and you can see it, you know, in this system of belief from this century. But the thing is, not a single ecumenical council, which is a council of the whole church, ever declared that to be a thing.
Did they even discuss it?
Not that I can recall.
Imagine getting raptured.
What?
Imagine getting raptured.
This is why we have the intern, Cam.
Yeah,
She's just chilling over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fun thing about that, the whole idea of
Thing about being raptured.
Yeah.
Is that the correct? Because I really don't. I have no idea what you're talking about, like, whatsoever. I'm not really.
No, the rapture is a thing, particularly in dispensationalist American Protestantism, which is the same through line of Protestant thinking that led to a lot of American Christians believing that we have some sort of Christian responsibility to Israel, which has caused a lot of problems over the years.
Yeah, you guys touched on that briefly during the show. Can you expand on that?
We touched on that during IRL. Didn't even get to that during the debate. Yeah, no. Dispensationalism is a late 19th century, early 20th century outcropping of low church Protestantism. And low church Protestantism just means, basically, for all intents and purposes, Protestantism without apostolic succession. Which, again, the Protestant argument regarding apostolic succession is that it was broken a long time ago and therefore it no longer matters.
How accurate is that claim?
Not at all.
Okay.
Again, not at all. And I regardless of what the church holds, I don't believe that not being part of the Catholic Church by, like, nominally is enough to send you to hell. That's not where I land on it. I think that there is in accordance with what basically every one of the major apostolic sects believes, that there is a spectrum of sin, and just committing sins does not condemn you to hell. That the important parts are baptism, belief in the Trinitarian God, and communion.
Also, wasn't that the whole point of Jesus dying on the cross?
What?
To be able to, like, wash away our sins, to put us in a position where if we
yes,
repent.
But that's the thing, is you still have to believe and repent. Those are the important aspects of Christianity.
Yeah.
So there are some people who will argue that unless you are baptized and take communion in the Roman Catholic Church, you are going to hell, 100%.
Uh-oh.
Not
Wait, isn't that totally antithetical to some of the things that are said in the Bible, where it's like those who seek but do not like? Yeah, like I can't remember the specific passage, but like it's literally in the Bible.
Yeah, and there are reasons I'm a Protestant outside of papal infallibility. But that's the other thing is, and I pushed for this. This is the other thing that bothers me. I pushed to have a fourth person on that debate, and I wanted that person to be either an evangelical or a Reformed Church Protestant, because Anglicanism is not Protestant in the same sense, and Methodism kind of is, but Anglicanism itself is not Protestant in the same sense as Lutheranism and Calvinism.
What is inspiring philosophy?
I have no idea.
Okay,
He refuses to tell anybody.
interesting.
It's funny because he looks like an Orthodox icon, but like an Orthodox painting of a person.
Yeah.
But I've heard other people say that he's a Protestant, like an evangelical.
But he really only focuses on the theology element of it, right?
He does get into church councils as well, but yeah, he's much more a theological apologist. So he ends up fighting more with Muslims and atheists than he does other Christians.
Yeah.
Which I actually wanted to get on that subject during the debate.
We tried.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to do during that debate, and part of the reason I stayed in it was because I was like, all right, well, even if I'm not going to feel like I'm on the same level as these guys when it comes to certain aspects of ecclesiology, what I would like to have the opportunity to do is point out that while we're sitting here squabbling amongst ourselves, the enemy is at the gates.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on why you say the word enemy? Because I'm imagining not everybody here is...
From a Christian perspective, Islam is a heresy, and it's the largest heresy. And also, historically, there's been a lot of open warfare and conflict between Islam and Christianity. So that's what I mean by the enemy is at the gates. From a cultural perspective, we're seeing a resurgence of Islam in the West due to figures like Andrew Tate and Sneeko, which I will say, if those are your top two influencers, maybe...
Who is Sneeko?
Oh, yeah,
I was
the
wondering the
kick
same
streamer.
A sneaker person?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what he is. He's a kick streamer.
What is a kick?
Kick. Not like Kick, the messaging platform we all got groomed on as kids.
Right.
No, Kick as in the streaming service Kick, which has an almost identical logo, and I find that hilarious.
I'm concerned.
Concerned about what? You didn't get groomed on Kick?
No, we all got groomed on Kick.
Okay,
That's
just
why I'm
making sure.
I think that was kind of a universal experience.
Yeah, everybody got groomed
No,
on Kick.
I'm more specifically concerned about the fact that there is now an entire streaming
Yeah,
service
no.
that is like that.
No. It's
There's a
the streaming
streaming
service
service
is not Kick, the messaging platform. It's
No, I
different.
know, but the fact that the logo is very similar and also
Yeah.
like, the name as concerning.
I think that was
There's
deliberate.
something that I don't know if it was Kick, but it was some streaming platform that was like, we're rising up people who want to talk about like politics and finance and stuff, and it was just like these horrible thumbnails, and they were like, Lore Lodge, like, we think that you guys really fit with our
Oh, what, in the email?
message, and I was like, delete. I was like,
Fitting in so well here.
I was like, why would we like? No, like no. First of all, nobody's ever heard of that. Second of all, it looks like boo boo. I don't.
Was it? It wasn't Rumble, was it?
Maybe I don't
We
know.
are on Rumble now.
We are on Rumble now.
I'd have to remember.
I love this day and age where it's like, catch me on YouTube. I'm on Rumble. I'll be streaming live on Schmoop.
We should start, if there's not a streaming service called
Schmoop?
Schmoop now, we should start it.
I think Schmoop actually was something at some point.
There's no way.
Oh wait, no, wasn't there?
No
No.
way.
Well, wasn't there like a like film, like a filmmaker's like mobile only platform that they tried to launch, and it like just crashed and
I'll
burned?
look it up.
Yeah, it was a mobile only filmmaking platform, and they put like a lot of money, Warner Brothers stuff like that, and it just like tanked after like a year. What was it
Schmoop's a
called?
thing.
Schmoop is a thing.
Moop.
Yeah.
We got to get on Schmoop. How do we get on Schmoop?
Schmoopy?
Schmoop University Inc. is a for-profit online educational technology company.
Schmoop University. Sorry guys, I'm getting my degree from Schmoop University.
No way. That's crazy.
Damn, that's crazy.
There is a Schmoop YouTube channel.
What do they do?
The same thing. It's the same company.
Well, that's not even like. Schmoop.
Oh yes, Quibi. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
I don't know what they were thinking with that.
I think they had the right idea in the sense that like the number one streaming service or the streaming platform now, or not platform, method of viewing is mobile for almost everything.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think they were
Vertical?
thinking, oh, what's that?
Vertical.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like vertical or whatever, and they were shooting films to be able to be watched horizontally and vertically. The problem is
I watch a lot of films horizontally, personally.
yeah,
But like, I mean,
I
on-
think
laying
I
on my
watched
back,
like a
yeah.
pretty decent like horror movie on that app at some point, maybe.
fair.
Because I remember it being like, oh, you can watch this from the side or from
Yeah.
the side if
Yeah,
you want to
yeah.
be in the action. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, you know, it's gonna make a Netflix horror series called like Schmoop: The Curse of Boo Boo.
Well, I think the downside is that like most people, if they want to watch like a serious show or film, they still watch it like on a TV.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm
So
pretty sure a large portion of our audience watches on television.
it is. That's our second most watched platform. We're number one is mobile for us at like 54%, and then I think it's like 24% TV. So like computers are very minimal, which is wild.
That tracks with our demographics.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like,
That's fair. So anyway, so
you talk, I'm chewing.
yeah, you're good. So one of the things I found really interesting about the debate in which you were a part of is, and I really
Was I though?
yeah, kind of. You did your best, and you know, Tim Poole himself also did a good job of trying to keep you incorporated or whatever. I wanted to get your thoughts on Poole's kind of refocusing and harping on the birth rate thing, because like I understand that that's a political topic right now, but why is that a key point in a Christian debate? Because it's something that is unexpected, especially in a theology conversation. But what is the word ecclesiology that you were mentioning? Is like, is that something that is within different elements of ecclesiology from different churches, or what was the reason for that?
I think that fell more in line with politics than anything else.
Okay.
The origin of the debate was a conversation that happened on IRL where, and I wasn't watching it, I don't know what happened. So, but from what I understand, from how Tim described it, they were talking about how Catholics have the highest birth rate among Christians. And then Tim said, oh, well, it sounds like Catholicism is the superior form of Christianity because you're reproducing more. Which, to be fair, we are below replacement rate, like as a country. Now I thought this was very funny. He made a good point, which is if we're going by that metric of highest fertility rate, it's actually the Amish who are the superior form of Christianity.
Yeah.
Because they have a fertility rate of like 6 or 7. Whereas, and this is the part that I thought was the funniest out of all of it, comes back around to it, that part of the discussion, Roman Catholics, Eastern Orthodox, and High Church Protestants are all 1.8 and 1.9. No difference. Like, going by that metric, you can't pick a superior form of Christianity based on birth rate.
Yep.
Because all three of them are the same functionally. I mean, you know, 0.1 is not that's a rounding error.
Yeah.
So I think that was largely a political thing. I don't think that, like, again, I was coming there to argue about history and theology.
Yeah.
And which church is theologically the most correct. And there was one part that you know, Tim Gordon, this is why I made a tongue-in-cheek comment on Twitter today, which is like, I was like, maybe I did win the debate because for the past 3 days, Tim Gordon has been strawmanning everything I said, and Jay blocked me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Jay blocked me today because I was looking into it, and I was like, you know, somebody had told me that the Orthodox churches actually affirmed the Anglican ordination. And I want a very important caveat here. I am joining the Anglican Catholic Church, which split off at the Missouri Synod in St. Louis in, I want to say, 1978. And it split off from the Episcopal Church. The Episcopal Church split off from the Church of England in like 1776.
Yeah.
Most of the founding fathers were Episcopal Christians, which was just the Anglican Church in America. Most of the reasons that the Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches do not recognize Anglicanism today came after 1978. So in 1922, when we had essentially the exact same stuff we have now as an Anglican Catholic Church, when the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople wrote to the Archbishop of Canterbury and said that his church held a synod to discuss whether or not the Anglican Church had proper ordination, they came to the conclusion that they did. And he said, now, to be clear, I haven't heard back yet from the other autocephalous, which means self-governing, Orthodox churches. So there's also a letter in this document that I found that reached out to them and said, hey, here's why we came to the conclusion that Anglican ordination is proper and should be considered legitimate within our churches. And that reasoning was, there were a bunch of different reasons. I'm not going to go through all of them right now. I can pull it up in a second. Actually, you know what? I will pull it up right now. I have that nice.
Remind me, just for clarity, Jay was the Catholic and who was the Orthodox? Am I getting
Jay was the Orthodox, Tim was the Catholic.
Tim was the Catholic, okay. And who was it that blocked you? Jay?
Jay.
Okay, just making
After I posted this document.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, I think, and tell me what you think of this. You don't necessarily have to agree or disagree with me, but I think part of what happened in that debate and why he kept challenging you on dogma is because it seemed like he didn't know enough about the Anglican Catholic Church to actually have like a proper debate.
I don't think he knew anything about the Anglican Catholic Church.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think he assumed I was just an Anglican.
Yeah. So he tried to like attack you, and when you didn't know like every like detail off the top of his head, he was like, "Oh, I don't have to attack you because you don't know enough to debate me," which I think was just kind of a by proxy.
Oh yeah,
that was his problem.
And that's the thing is, throughout the debate, I kept coming to realize that they had no intention of arguing with me on any of the positions I had. They were just going to do whatever they could to dismiss me out of hand, so that they didn't have to deal with anything I was going to say.
Yeah.
So this document that I looked at, and I want to be clear, the Roman Catholic Church has allowed Anglican bishops and priests to perform mass in Roman Catholic churches in the last 30 years. So since the changes that led to a lot of the churches not recognizing Anglican ordination. But so this is in 1922 what the Archbishop, the Patriarch of Constantinople, had to say to the other Orthodox churches. That the ordination of Matthew Parker as Archbishop of Canterbury by 4 bishops is a fact established by history. That is the first Anglican archbishop. 2, that in this ordination and those subsequent to it, there are found in their fullness those orthodox and indispensable, visible, and sensible elements of valid episcopal ordination, namely the laying on of hands and the epiclesis of the all-Holy Spirit, and also the purpose to transmit the charisma of the episcopal ministry.
So what exactly is that saying?
Long-winded way of saying that the liturgy is correct. Not the liturgy, the ordination itself, the process and the practice of the ordination is correct and in line with Orthodox ordination. 3, that the Orthodox theologians who have scientifically examined the question have almost unanimously come to the same conclusions and have declared themselves as accepting the validity of Anglican ordinations.
So is that essentially just saying a third party has confirmed this?
That's him saying that the Orthodox, like, everyone that the Orthodox Church has assembled to look at this problem in the Church of Constantinople has agreed that this is the case. That the practice in the Church affords no indication that the Orthodox Church has ever officially treated the validity of Anglican orders as in doubt in such a way as it would point to the reordination of the Anglican clergy being regarded as required in the case of the union of the 2 churches. What that means is that if the churches were to enter communion with one another, the Orthodoxy and the Anglicans, what that means is nobody would be rebaptized. Nobody would be reordained. Historically, he's saying, the Orthodox Church has never actually had a problem with Anglican ordination. That means up until 1922, as far as the Orthodox Church was concerned, Anglican ordination was valid. They had never actually adjudicated it, but there was nothing said against it.
And remind me again, what is it that happened in 1922 that changed that?
Nothing changed that. This was just the Orthodox Church getting together and saying, all right, we should have doctrine on this. We should come to a formal decision. So this was them coming to the formal decision. Then we get 5, that expressing this general mind of the Orthodox Church, the most holy patriarchs at different periods and other hierarchs of the East, when writing to the archbishops of the Anglican Church, have been used to address them as most reverend brother in Christ, thus giving them a brotherly salutation. So basically, anytime there's been communication between the Anglican Church and the Orthodox churches, they have referred to the Anglican Church as brothers in Christ. So accepting their validity as Christians.
My brother in Christ.
Yes, my brother in Christ. Oh, hi. How you doing? Amanda's having floor time. There are chairs in here. Okay. That's fair. Yeah, so when I posted that, Jay said, Patriarch Meletios, that's who it was a Freemason, which is true. But at the time, the Orthodox Church had not yet banned Freemasonry.
Oh, yeah, it was him at the end of the show that tried to come down on you.
Oh, yeah, and just that's my favorite one, is there were a lot of comments that were like, Jay bodied him on Freemasonry. Jay flopped so hard on Freemasonry that it was actually funny.
Well, because he would challenge you on something, and then you'd be like, you don't know what that is, do you?
Yeah, and he just proved he didn't. Yeah. I'm sitting there, I'm like, look, dude, nobody is more familiar with the conflict of Freemasonry versus Christianity than I am at this point.
Yeah, because
I've been actively looking for the contradictions to know whether or not I should leave Freemasonry. And I'm at the point now where it's like, if I need to leave Freemasonry to be taken seriously as a Christian when it comes to that kind of space, I'll do that, because my association with Freemasonry does not supersede my association with Christianity. Like, I'm a Christian first, I am a Freemason second. My association with Freemasonry is due to the fact that I believe it's a very good charity organization, that it has good morals overall, and that it makes good men better. I don't care what Albert Pike was writing in 1850. I don't care about his weird theater kid stuff he was doing. Now, granted, Albert Pike is a very famous person outside of Freemasonry, because he did a ton of ethnology studies on the Deep South Native American tribes. He did a lot of work on the Seminoles, the Natchez, these various different groups. So he was well known for that. He was also a Confederate general, and he was an American general prior to that. So Albert Pike, outside of being a Freemason, was an important guy. But for me, Freemasonry, I think Freemasonry has to a large extent lost its way. I think that most of what Freemasonry does today is rather irrelevant to the original purpose of the fraternity. I think that the decision to not be very specific in 1723 about what we meant by Freemasonry is open to people of all religions, rather than Freemasonry is not going to distinguish between Catholics and Protestants, was a mistake that I think has led to all of the problems that are associated with Freemasonry to this day. Jay didn't know that Freemasonry is 600 years old. He thought it went back to like the 1700s. It was old at that point. In 1717, when the Grand Lodge of England formed, Freemasonry was at least 300 years old. And it originated as an explicitly Catholic organization. The only reason that in 1723 they came together and said, all right, well, we no longer have a specific religious requirement, was because Freemasonry at that time almost exclusively existed in Britain. And what was going on in Britain in the early 1700s, Aiden?
Well, they had a lot of trade going on. I don't remember what war may have been happening at that point, because that wasn't the Revolutionary time.
There were a whole bunch. So are you aware of King James and King Charles?
I know them.
So King James was an Anglican, technically.
Mm-hmm.
King Charles was a Catholic. I think actually King James might have been a Catholic as well. What?
Was King James the gay one with the good hair?
He wasn't actually gay. That's a myth. Okay. But yes, you are thinking of the right King James. Right. The King James of the King James Bible. So at the time, James, yeah. So basically there were two lines competing for the monarchy of England at the time. One of them was Catholic. One of them was Anglican. There was a lot of fighting going on. There was a war. So. It was called the Jacobite Wars. And so a bunch of people called Jacobites, who supported the line of King James II, and King Charles I, they went into exile in France after losing the war. Then they tried to start another war, which was supported in Scotland, and then they lost that war too. If you've watched the show Outlander, this is a major plot point.
Me a song.
Yes, exactly.
Kat has watched it. I guess you've watched it as well.
Last that is gone.
Yeah, she gets it. She gets it. So the reason Freemasonry opened up to all religions was that there were Freemasons who were Catholic and there were Freemasons who were Anglican. There were very few differences between those two churches at the time. There are very few differences between those two churches today. Most of it was the temporal authority of the Pope. That was like probably 80% of the argument between the two churches. Then there were a few other things with the Council of Trent, but
I'm just realizing how much were you arguing with Jay on Twitter over the weekend?
not much. I didn't even mention him.
Okay, because I was gonna say, I was like, how much did it take for him to block you?
Literally just me posting that series of letters.
Did you at him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, and it wasn't even, I'll read you the tweet.
Yeah. So I was like, realized it was like, do I need to go into our management
Somebody's
software and look at things?
No.
I said somebody's guilty.
Let me go find it here really quick. Yeah. At J Dyer, basically. I'll grant that you had me in the debate, but I think you may find this interesting. According to the ecumenical patriarch Meletios of Constantinople, Anglican ordination is valid. Here we see him telling the Archbishop of Canterbury that he holds this to be true. It was a thread.
Yep.
In the following encyclical to all Orthodox autocephalous churches, he reaffirms this opinion, then gives his more direct reasoning. And I posted all of the screenshots from the letter.
Yep.
Following this, the patriarchs of Jerusalem and Alexandria, as well as the Archbishop of Cyprus, all confirmed that their churches agreed with this belief. And then I said, there's quite a bit more to the document if you have any interest in reading it, but I think the point is quite clear. Anglican ordination was held as valid as recently as the early 20th century, and Anglo-Catholic ordination has not changed since. Therefore, your church agrees with my claim that Anglican Catholic ordination is valid. And then he goes, Meletios was a Freemason, and we don't care what one ecumenical patriarch said. To which I replied, you really should have read the rest of the document, or at the very least the thread. It wasn't just him. It was a synod of his church. It was affirmed by the patriarchs of Jerusalem and Alexandria, as well as the archbishops of Romania and Cyprus, who also held synods on the topic. He then said goodbye and blocked me. And then after realizing how petty that made him look, he deleted the one where he said goodbye, but still kept me blocked.
Maybe he was like, this could have just been an email.
Well, I've also learned through speaking with other Orthodox Christians that most of them don't like him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you ready for this?
I think I'm about to be shocked.
Yeah, he's not actually even like Greek Orthodox or Oriental Orthodox or OCA, which is Orthodox Church in America. From what I understand, he is part of the Russian Orthodox Church and part of a specific sect of it that isn't really in communion with the rest of them. And you know why that's really funny?
Why?
Because one of the things he tried to gotcha me on is branch theory, which is a term that admittedly I had not heard before. But what it is essentially the idea that there are multiple branches of the Christian Catholic Church that are all valid, but have some disagreements with each other. But they're united in that they hold to the same 7 ecumenical councils, the same 7 sacraments, those kinds of things. And so they are basically branches of the same Christian tree.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that because the Anglican community holds that, it's not a valid church. Meanwhile, he's part of a church that basically isn't, it holds that the Greek church is heretical. And isn't, keep in mind, the Greek church is the kind of the original one, arguably, because the earliest church spoke Greek and developed in the Eastern Roman Empire, which was the Greek half.
Makes a lot of sense.
So here's the thing. From what I understand, his church holds that the other Orthodox churches that are in communion with Constantinople are in error, and thus that his church is a continuation of the proper orthodoxy. Aiden, do you know what the Anglican Church holds? That the Roman Catholic Church is in error, and therefore it is a proper continuation of Roman Catholicism.
It sounds like they both have the same exact view of 2 different branches of churches.
Yes, it's just that his is right somehow.
Naturally.
Also, I think it's one other really important thing here is they couldn't attack any of the points I actually made, and I'm not even an apologist. I'm just a historian.
It is pretty funny when they like specificically asked you that element of so what are you supposed to be defending? And you're just like, the history and theology of it?
I sat there and I was like, my point isn't that my church is superior, it's that yours isn't. Which I did get some flack for other Anglicans, because they were like, no, we do hold that our church is superior. And I was like, I understand where you're coming from. Not the reason I was there.
Yeah.
Like that, when I went down there, I wasn't there to defend the Anglican church as superior, because when I accepted the debate, I wasn't an Anglican. That was a decision I made along the way, and honestly, it caused me some problems. But upon getting there, like the topic of the debate wasn't my church is superior. It was your church isn't.
Yeah.
And that was the whole argument I was trying to make the whole time, because I don't think that Roman Catholics on average, like your average Roman Catholic, is some kind of horrible heretic who's doomed to hell. I think that the Roman Catholic Church is in error, and for that reason, I don't want to be part of it.
And for that reason, I'm out. I also think that most Roman Catholics are probably far more highly aligned with Anglican Catholic like mentality,
especially in the English-speaking world.
Yeah, so it is really funny and interesting, especially considering most of the people who follow their given church probably aren't familiar enough with the ecclesiology and the history and the theology of their church to know whether or not they actually believe.
Oh, they kept calling me a liberal Anglican, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, I'm part of the most conservative Anglican variation there is. Like, we're more conservative than you guys at times. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, there's stuff that the Pope has said, the previous Pope, that we've all, like, even as a Methodist, I was sitting there going, what? What are you talking? Like, the reason I left the Methodist Church is because it's too liberal theologically. Like, the church,
in a sense, not as politically, but in terms of the doctrine. Explain that a little bit more.
Just, there's politics and then there's religion. And, for example, since the very earliest days of Christianity, there have been male priests and bishops and not female priests and bishops. A large part of the issue that Roman Catholicism has with Anglican ordination now is the ordination of women. Do I sit here and understand the theological reasoning for not having female bishops? Not necessarily. But Jesus picked 12 men. And we're supposed to imitate what Jesus did. Paul was pretty clear as well. So, like, from a Christian perspective, conservative theology is we should do what Jesus did. Liberal theology is let's fall in line with modern society. I know that's not a popular position to have in today's day and age, but it's not my place to question Jesus or the 12 people he picked.
Fair.
Yeah, so that's kind of what it is like theologically conservative stuff. Now, you can be theologically conservative and politically liberal. In fact, that's arguably the correct position, is that your theology should not inform your politics. It should inform how you live your life personally. So just because I wouldn't want to be a part of a church that had a broken line of apostolic succession doesn't mean that I wouldn't vote for a woman in Congress. So that's, I guess, that's a basic example of theological conservatism versus liberalism.
Yeah, it's more conservatism and liberalism in terms of religiosity or theology, whatever, I feel like is going to get too muddied in terms of modern terminology and how they're used. Maybe it's more
traditional versus non-traditional is probably the better way to put it. Yeah, and that's, I liked it. Somebody, back when they were electing a new pope, somebody had said, they were making fun of, like, the new pope is going to be a liberal, the new pope is going to be conservative, and it was like, you can't put modern politics onto the papal election. It is on, like, 27 different axes, at least 3 of which are being Italian. So that's kind of how it works. This is an institution that's 2,000 years old. The modern left-right political paradigm is less than 300 years old.
Yeah.
It derives from the French Revolution in the 1790s. Oh. And much like anything French, it's bad.
Can we talk about how the Pope is from Villanova, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, the Pope went to Villanova.
That's wild.
There is a very good chance the Pope has had a Wawa hoagie during Hoagie Fest.
That is the ultimate time of year.
Yeah.
Hoagie Fest. Do you know when Hoagie Fest is?
Who do you think you're talking? I've lived here my entire life.
You didn't answer the question.
Of course I know what Hoagie Fest is.
When is
it?
Oh, this happened to me last night.
Hoagie Fest.
No. I said when, not
when?
what. Yeah.
Oh, isn't it like soon?
Yes.
July to...
Primarily July, but
yeah, it's basically July.
Yeah.
But now they're doing like $1 coffee, $2 iced coffee if you're a rewards member.
I personally, I am hoping that the Pope will bless Wawa.
He can endorse Wawa. He
did endorse. He can endorse Wawa.
Wait, you say he can or he did?
He can, but I guess he did. Yeah.
Did he?
But if he were to bless Wawa, would that mean like Wawa coffee's like holy water?
I don't think so, technically. The holy bean juice.
Wait, I had a conversation about this with somebody at one point where I was like, what is the limit on, because there's the one drop rule, and I was like, so if you...
Okay, so first of all, that is not the proper terminology for that.
Well, the one drop of
How
holy water
big
in any
is it?
water would then make the rest of it holy water. So it's like, what happens if I...
Now
put
listen here, Sonny, if you got even one drop of that holy water in there, you're a Catholic.
But that's the thing, it's like, what if you put holy water in the ocean?
No, that's not how
I
it
put
works.
holy water in a milkshake one time, and I
Why?
almost threw up.
Yeah, that was God himself saying no.
Are you sure? Do you need to go to confession?
Probably. We probably all do.
I don't want to talk about that because that'll become a very different topic for me.
Yeah, it's true. You're an intern. We can't do that.
Yeah, no, we can't. We can't force the intern to go to confession.
No, well, nor should we. Confession should always be a willing choice.
That's fair. That's fair. I could. Yes. Do we have confession? We just have to schedule it. We don't go sit in a booth.
Schedule it.
You have
I
to
did go
schedule
into-
confession?
Like, we go to a very small church.
I did go into a church specifically just to get holy water for maybe I shouldn't talk about this, but I did go to the church and they just had the little like bucket, or it was basically like a Gatorade cooler but like fancy and pretty looking, and it had holy water in it, and I just filled it up in a cup and
Oh yeah. Oh, we definitely were doing some heresy during the Super Bowl, I will admit.
What do you mean? Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it probably isn't good to repurpose the Lord's Prayer to involve the Philadelphia Eagles.
It worked.
I
It
did like the
worked. I'm
ladies-
not saying it didn't work.
Now let's be fair. If it worked,
Aiden, we took Jello shots as if it were communion wine.
yeah. Well, you know what? He condoned
The
wine.
Lord was present in our Jello shots.
It would seem so.
Are you telling me the Jello shots went through transubstantiation?
I think he would have been okay with that.
Would he really
I
have
don't,
let us?
I don't know if a priest could consecrate a Jello shot.
Depends on the priest.
That's a fair point.
See, and this is why liberal and conservative doesn't belong in theological conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, we were saying in spiritu sequanti, amen. Like, we can't do that.
It worked.
It did work.
I did like the nuns in Philly who were praying for the Eagles like profusely. That was awesome.
Here's the thing. Would God have let it happen? The win, I mean. If our prayers were not...
What you're doing right now is most of medieval warfare justification.
Yeah?
Like, if
But,
God wasn't okay with it, we would have lost.
But, like, you know, who won?
We did. There's definitely a lot more Catholics in Philadelphia than there are in Kansas City.
I'm getting the prayer.
Oh no, don't. You can't do this right now. Any credibility I had is getting shot. It
You
is
didn't-
getting
hey,
taken out back and shot in the head.
You didn't write it.
That's fair.
You also didn't really say it.
All right.
Yeah. Eagles prayer. Here we go.
Oh god.
Everybody ready?
Oh no.
Our Father who art in Philly, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on the field as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily win, and forgive us our penalties, as the rest forgive those who commit penalties against us. Lead us not into a loss, but deliver us the Super Bowl. And nomine Patre et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
I feel like they can coexist separately. That's its own thing, you know? It's not like a satire of the Lord's Prayer, you know?
Yeah.
It's its own thing. Yeah.
It's a prayer inspired by how Jesus taught us to pray. Pray how the Lord taught you to pray, saying,
We were actually praying.
I would like to think if he had a problem with it, he would have let us know.
You have a fair point. That's
Am I
true.
right? Does God generally not give signs when you're doing something bad?
We're really getting into the weeds here, and I don't know how to respond. I feel like
having
I'm on
like
such thin ice at the moment. I'm about to get excommunicated from a church I haven't even been confirmed in.
Just remember, for everybody watching who's angry at him, this is all my fault.
I'm sticking with that.
Yeah. No, I'll take the blame for you so that way you can remain pure in whatever form of Christianity you need to be.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I can always go to confession.
Technically, so
Yeah.
can I.
That's true. That was another one of the reasons I'm not a huge I'm not a huge fan of Catholicism. Is like I feel like the idea that you can go sit in a booth and say some Hail Marys is not penance.
Yeah, you feel like
should
it's
be
not
able
enough.
to hold the hand of the priest while you do it.
Wait, what?
What?
What did you say? No, I
I feel like you should be able to hold the hand of the priest while you do it.
okay, that's better. I thought you said we had to hold the hand of the priest. And I was gonna be like, what church? And what's his name?
What's the address?
Yeah. I just want to talk to him.
Yeah, no.
No, if that's
I-
your choice, different story. But
Would you feel more comfortable if you got to hold the priest's hand?
No, I just feel like it's such an intimate moment. Like, if I'm being
Okay, there have been a few too intimate moments with Catholic priests.
are you Catholic?
I'm not really anything. I mean, my dad calls himself a recovering Catholic, but I suppose he's a
What does that
mean? Aren't we
recovering
all?
Roman Catholic. I think he's and his priest at his church was accused of that stuff, and he was like, "What, was I not cute enough when I was?"
What a way to respond to that.
Yeah. Whew.
Like, I feel left out.
Well, that's the
Thanks a
thing.
lot.
That's the thing, man. I'm sitting there like at the debate, hoping we get to talk about anything that's not a church council so I can point out like, hey, was pretty not Christian of a papal legate to slaughter thousands of innocent Catholics at Béziers because they lived in the same city as some Cathars.
When did this happen?
1219, 1209, something like that.
12 years ago.
Yeah, no, like I think it was 1209, somewhere around there. During the Albigensian Crusade, the abbot Arnaud Amalric, a papal legate, which means that he was the representative of the Pope on the battlefield, went to Béziers, which was a city that had a large Cathar population, and then he was like, "Hey, all of you Catholics in the city, we're gonna attack it, so you should leave." And they're like, "Where are we gonna go?" And he went, "That's not my problem." So they stayed. And then when the battle started, the Crusaders rushed into the city. And I want to be clear, when people talk about the Crusades, they're really not talking about this one. Like, and I'm not saying that to be like, they're hiding it. It's just like, it wasn't the same thing as the Crusades going on in the Middle East. It didn't have the same reasoning. But yeah, so when the battle started, they asked him there, because a whole bunch of people had holed up in literal Catholic cathedrals. They asked him, Master Skywalker, what are we going to do? But yeah, they asked him, like, what do we do? Literally, what happened? They said, what do we do? How do we tell who's a Cathar and who's a Catholic? And he said, and I quote, "Kill them all, God will recognize his own." The papal army slaughtered innocent Catholic children. Children.
But
I'm
they
not
also
gonna-
slaughtered the other children too.
Well,
didn't
yes, that too, but like, you Catholics might defend that. You cannot defend the slaughter of innocent Catholic children
As a Catholic.
as a Catholic. So I wanted to ask about
You can't-
that.
you
Like,
can't
hey,
defend the slaughter of
did
innocent children.
is
as
the
any-
church that did that the superior church?
Yeah.
The church that still hasn't really apologized for it? I was like, all right, how about 100 years later when y'all massacred the Templars on evidence you made up that you apologized for later?
Did they really?
The Roman Catholic Church was like, ooh, are bad on that. By the way, potentially the origin of Freemasonry right there.
I
Really?
really want to
Yes.
find the Ark of the Covenant.
Okay. Potentially, yeah. So the destruction of the Templars might be the origin of Freemasonry, because up in England and Scotland, the kings were like, "Yeah, we'll hunt all 4 of them down, I guess," because there were like 20 of them in England and like 4 in Scotland.
Okay.
And those might be the people who went into hiding and formed the Freemasons in order to basically continue their work as Templars without putting a target on their backs.
What was their work as Templars?
By that point, mostly checking.
Check-
Banking.
Checking what? Checking what?
Banking. Templars invented checking accounts.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it was
You
basically
know, like your bank account?
Yeah, that I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It, just like that.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
they would basically, you would go to a Templar bank in Paris, and you would give them 30 pieces of silver.
Wait, so then what are the Knights of the Templar? I think I'm confused.
That's the same thing.
right. Okay.
After the Crusades were over, they didn't really have much going on.
okay. So they became bankers.
Well, that was kind of how they managed to accumulate wealth during the medieval period. They had a bunch of money because they were mercenaries to a certain extent. And so they just started loaning, like taking money in and I don't know, because they couldn't make money off of it and they didn't. I don't really know what the purpose of doing so was. It might have just been a public service.
Well, didn't they charge interest?
No, illegal. Christians can't charge interest.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Somebody
If you
should
go to
tell
a
all the people who
Christian
run the
bank-
banks.
Yeah. Christian bank, no interest?
Interesting.
Exactly.
That wasn't a pun.
Yeah. So, well, that's kind of where the trope of Jewish bankers comes from, is because Jews didn't have that restriction in the Middle Ages.
Got
So
it.
Jewish banks could loan money with interest, and in doing so make more money, which allowed them to give bigger loans, which allowed them to accumulate more money. So the idea of the Jewish bankers goes back to the Christian outlawing of usury.
So it just like the Christians essentially nerfed themselves in banking because if you can't make more money than your competitors, you're going to go out of business.
I don't know if they would have looked at it as nerfing themselves so much as following Christ's word, but sure.
Oh yeah, and I guess if
Jesus chased the moneylenders out of the temple himself with a whip.
Yeah, and if you're Jewish and you don't believe Christ was the Messiah, then you have no reason to do that.
Exactly. You're not banned from it. So at times it actually created a very symbiotic relationship, but at other times it did the opposite.
War.
Yeah. Not so much war, more like, hey, get out of our city.
Yeah, that kind of led to some wars.
Not with the Jews. There weren't enough of them.
No, I meant like down the line.
Oh, down the line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big one. Very big one happened
Yep.
based on all of that. Anyway, we were talking about the Templars. Why were we talking about the Templars? Right, because we were talking about bad things the Roman Catholic Church did. Yeah, they apologized for basically fabricating evidence against the Templars because the King of France asked them to, because he owed them a bunch of money and also wanted to seize their assets.
What year was this?
1307
Cool.
through 1314.
Medieval history is really overlooked.
Not
I
by me,
love
Aiden.
medieval history. I really do. That's the thing that fascinates me the most. Like, I would totally get a history degree if it wasn't for all the writing that's involved, because I
That was my favorite
don't
part.
think that there you go. I don't think that I could realistically do that, but I'm
That's
just
fair.
so like, what were people thinking? Like, I need to start from the very beginning and go to like 1405, and that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's what I did. That was my degree, was like 500 to 1500.
We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, which is why I know all of this.
Yeah.
I didn't learn this as part of me not liking Catholicism. I just learned it as part of my secular education on the history of Europe.
Mhm.
But yeah, so there's the time they did that. Also, back during the 8th century, they came up with something called the Donation of Constantine. Do you know what that is, Aiden?
Oh God, you've said it so many times. Was it when? What did he do?
The Pope, I forget which one it was at the time. The Pope basically was like, hey, we want to be in charge of everything. So we have this document that was signed by Constantine himself, like the Roman Emperor Constantine,
Mm-hmm.
the famous one who made Christianity legal, but actually didn't have the Bible canonized. And everybody who thinks that he somehow had an influence on Christianity changing is wrong. Anyway,
Istanbul was Constantine.
he was also the one who called the Council of Nicaea, which is not where they canonized the Bible. That didn't happen until 382. Anyway, the Catholic Church comes up with this and they're like, hey, we have this document. It says that Constantine, before he died, gave authority over the entire Western Roman Empire to the Bishop of Rome. Now, there's some problems with that. Constantine died in like the 320s. The Western Roman Empire fell in 476, and it was not ruled by the Pope when it happened. It was ruled by a 6-year-old. That's not the point either. The other guy had died. And then the Goths got there and were like, this is a
Goths, you
child. Yes.
The Goths.
Yes. The Goth daddies got there and they were like, this is a child. What should we do with him? And they were like, he's not a threat. Get rid of him. I don't believe he was murdered. I believe he was taken as a hostage and lived out the rest of his days in peace.
Quick tangent. Remind me the difference between the Goths and the Visigoths.
They were both Goths. The Ostrogoths are the ones I'm talking about. Ostrogoth means Eastern Goths.
What is Visigoths?
Western Goths. Yeah.
This is Middle English?
Latin, I
Mm.
think. But no, yeah, that is Germanic. Yeah, that derived from the fact that all the Goths started up in Gothland. Gotland, yeah.
Was it actually?
Gotland. That's why they're called Goths. They're from Gotland. Gotland. Yeah. So they come down, they sweep west across Europe,
Uh-huh.
and then the Ostrogoths go down under Odoacer and some other people before that into Italy, and they settle there. And then the Visigoths go into Spain, and they settle there. Spain is west of Italy. Italy is east of Spain. Ostrogoths, Visigoths.
Italy.
Yeah. And then the Vandals were like, you know what? Screw Iberia. We're going to Africa. And for a while, a bunch of German guys ruled Carthage.
How long is a while?
About 150 years.
Cool.
That's a while.
Yeah. And then the Eastern Roman Empire was like, gives me that. I want it back. Yeah. Basically. Anyway, point of the donation of Constantine is that it was fabricated.
Yep.
And it was a Catholic who figured that out in the 1400s.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
But the problem is the donatio was used to justify something called the Dictatus, which was issued under Gregory VII in the late 11th century. It's possible that it was issued under his successor. We're not totally sure. Anyway, that said, that was basically the Pope I am an emperor. The same way the one guy goes, I am a surgeon. Yeah. So he's like, and all of the princes are required to submit to me, and they gotta kiss my feet too, and I have authority over everybody, and I'm the king, and everybody else is beneath me. And the Orthodox Church, which had already schismed, didn't like that very much. And also a lot of the other Western kingdoms didn't like that very much. And so about 500 years later, the English churches after the Council of Trent went, all right, you know what? Everything that happened after that is bad. But mostly the stuff that happened at the Council of Trent.
Got it.
Fair
So
enough.
today, the Anglican Catholic Church basically is like, our goal is to be the most faithful representation of Christianity before things went wrong in Rome.
That
Makes
makes
a lot of
sense.
Yeah.
I could get behind that.
Yeah, you will hear a lot of Anglican Christian apologists and priests and bishops who will say openly, if Rome corrects its errors, we'll come back.
How many errors are there?
There's a bunch. It's really mainly the temporal authority thing, though, and the idea that the Pope is like untouchable. And this came out in the debate. Was you were sitting there arguing, and Jay and I pointed out there have been multiple times when a council or another bishop basically stood against the Pope, and the church as a whole decided the Pope was wrong. And sometimes, and the Catholics will kind of fall back on it and be like, oh, well, he wasn't speaking ex cathedra, so it's not really the Pope being in error, now is it? Because it wasn't dogmatic.
And
you're like, okay, that's kind of convenient that every time the Pope said something that we later decided was bad, well, it wasn't infallible that time.
yeah, well, I also love that your argument on the show was like, oh, so he just wasn't in his big chair.
Yeah. He didn't write it from the special chair.
Yeah.
And I said that, and Tim was like, wait, is that what that literally means? And I went, yes.
Wait, which Tim?
Pool.
Okay, yeah.
He was like, is that really what it means? I go, yes, ex cathedra means from the chair.
So is his name Provost? Is it Provost
Who?
something? The new Pope?
Oh, yeah. What was his last name? This is something like that.
I'm just going to call him Villanova.
Pope Leo the
Nova?
14th.
Yeah. Nova frat guy.
Pope Leo the 14th.
Pope Leo the 14th. How was he? How did that? Okay, he went to Villanova.
Yeah.
Where did this start? Like, what are you before you become the Pope?
Usually a bishop,
Okay, and what are you before?
a cardinal.
bishop?
a priest, a
Uh,
deacon,
Okay,
a guy.
a guy who becomes a deacon.
Yes, who becomes a priest, who becomes a bishop.
So how did those things happen?
So I actually looked this up when he became Pope because I was curious. once you become a priest, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but once you become a priest, in order to become a bishop, starting as bishop, you are chosen by the Pope. And then every increase in authority you get, you are consistently chosen by the Pope to be in that position.
Yeah.
So how was the first pope chosen?
Peter chosen.
Peter's
That Peter.
Peter's
Saint Peter.
Saint Peter. Okay.
Saint Peter. Like Jesus is like Simon Peter.
Jesus' friend.
Jesus' chief apostle, basically. Yeah. He was like, you know, you are Peter, and upon this rock I build my church. And Peter means rock. It's actually a very big argument between Protestants and Catholics if he meant that. And he meant to give Peter authority over the others. The early church definitely held that the Bishop of Rome had primacy, but not supremacy.
Yeah.
Basically. So, and that was the crux of the argument that Jay and I were trying to make. And where had Jay stopped to think for a second about what the goal of the debate was, we could have won. But instead, he decided to turn around and attack me and change the subject entirely.
Well, because he didn't want to win on a team. He wanted to win himself.
Yeah, he wanted it to be, you know, total Orthodox victory instead of it being like, we've made our point against the Catholic guy sitting right here who keeps calling both of us heretics. So that frustrated me that we're sitting there like, okay, we can do, I'm like, yes, okay, cool. We're about to win this. We have all of the arguments on this. We have all of the backing, all of the support of tradition and scripture. And then Jay's like, you're a heretic. Now, Tim, let's argue about this council.
Yeah. No, he just basically, he scars you. He looks around, he's like, long live the orthodoxy.
Yeah. That was frustrating. And that's why I made the tongue-in-cheek comment, like, maybe I did win the debate because these two are constantly just tripping over themselves trying to win. And I'm sitting here like, no, but neither of you addressed my arguments.
Mm-hmm.
When I said we have ordination, you said, no, you don't, and left it there.
Because they didn't know enough to challenge you on it.
Yeah, because they didn't understand the difference between Anglican and Anglican Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if they're going to argue the Anglican Church as it stands right now doesn't have proper ordination, that doesn't apply to me. So, yeah, that's all that. But yeah, the Dictatus was what I was trying to get to is, you know, basically where it all went wrong for the Western Church. And Jay was wrong about his own church's opinion, so that's cool. Probably go to super chats at this point, though.
Yeah, that's what I was planning on. Is it kind of nullifies his argument where, you know, you didn't know a thing, like one individual thing.
And that was the thing. It was very much a debate tactic, not an argumentative tactic. And you know, when I do debates, I usually my style of debate is the Socratic dialogue, and
because you want people to be able to explain their position, so you understand it properly and then can critique it.
Exactly. But their position was I don't even know what fallacy this is, but if I can get you to sound stupid, I win.
Well, it just, you know, anytime somebody in an actual debate just starts listing off people's fallacies, I know that
was the other
like
thing.
Lost.
Jay Singer was like, too cocaine.
Which is like, how bad do you have to be?
You probably couldn't see it because I'm sure I think was it Kellen who was doing it? I think. Kellen was producing. Shout out to Kellen. I love that guy. He's awesome. We all went out to the casino afterwards. Had a great time. Tim showed me how to lose money at Mississippi Stud.
Incredible how to lose money.
Yeah, it was awesome. He did loan me like $15 to help me try and win my money back, but did not do so.
You were feeling gassed up from poker night, and you were like,
yeah. Oh, that's exactly what it was. I was like, I'm playing with house money. But no, so while Tim and Jay are just across the table yelling at each other, you couldn't see it. Me and Tim are just there like,
yeah,
literally sitting there looking at each other, just laughing because they were getting so esoteric about it.
Yeah. Well, but Tim even said that at one point.
Yeah.
Actually, a couple times.
I think he said, like, this is probably getting too esoteric for people.
Yeah,
so let's
he did.
roll it back a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't win the debate, but I'm not sure anyone did.
Yeah, no, that it was just a devolution.
Yeah.
I do hope, because like
I would love to go back and do the Freemasonry thing, because here's the thing. Even if I end up walking away from Freemasonry, I would still happily sit there and explain to Jay how he's wrong.
Well, I was going to say, like, you got to be at some point, just be like, you can block me on Twitter, but you can't walk out of this room right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway,
right.
yeah, we do need to go to Super Chats. Thank you, everybody who has given Super Chats so far this
thank you.
evening. And I'm curious to see what we have to say. So Donovan Arnold has been a member for 10 months and gave us $5, saying, haha, my brother, when I brought it up on Pop Culture Crisis, I didn't think you'd flip it to the Monday podcast. Can't wait to hear your extended thoughts.
Wait.
So, Donovan Arnold.
What did he say?
He said, my brother, when I brought it up on Pop Culture Crisis, I didn't think you'd flip it to the Monday podcast. Can't wait to hear your extended thoughts. What exactly does he mean by that?
Just this. What
Okay.
we've been doing today.
Got it. Gomb has been a member for 23 months. Love it. He's bringing someone that he mentions frequently to Blobfest.
Someone?
Who does Gomb usually reference? You don't have to
His-
say it aloud.
His bodyguards?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
His bodyguards?
Are you?
I'm scared that he might actually have people coming with him, and I'm terrified of what they might look like if he's describing them as that way.
Are you familiar with his body?
Oh, yes. No, I'm excited.
All right, good.
Is it because they're,
No, well,
are you,
No, she has a boyfriend. And
right.
well,
She's like, now hold on.
yeah. Like,
I might do it for the plot.
Don't bring him into this.
Was George right?
She's like, he can come along.
Well, George wasn't incorrect.
Valid. We'll leave it there. We'll let them speculate.
Yeah, no.
wanna be very
know
clear.
what this means.
I want to be very clear. I was not here. I don't know what they're talking about.
Let me be clear.
No, let me be clear. I will direct a drone strike onto this Yemeni child.
George is from another podcast that we're currently in the middle of launching.
George is
and producing.
great.
Yeah, George is phenomenal.
George is awesome. I
not
wanna
to
have
be
a podcast with
confused.
George.
Not to be confused with horny
No,
George.
not that George.
No.
This is small business George.
Yes, this is This is Spotlight
Yes.
on lighting.
Spotlight on lighting.
Spotlight
That's
on
not the
small
name of the
business. It was something like that. I don't know. We have too many shows at this point. Anyway, K Android has been a member for 25 months.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
What?
Nothing. Nothing. Anyway,
Thank you.
I hope.
I don't like where this is going already.
I hope one day that the Abrahamic faiths can reconcile, if not reunite.
Sorry, I got a message from somebody who's watching the show who's an Anglican Catholic who's telling me I am going to have to go to confession about the Jello shot transubstantiation joke, which in my opinion I was not the one making that joke. I was asking you a question.
That's why I
Yeah.
blame for it. If anyone has
Yeah.
to go to confession for it, it's me. Don't blame him. He is a holy, devout, respectful Christian. Me, on the other hand. Anyway, how do you feel about that comment from K Android?
Let me read it again.
Just I hope one day all the Abrahamic faiths can be reunited, if not reconciled. Actually,
If by that you
reverse it.
mean that they all become Christian.
No, like, well, all. What? What does that mean? Oh, right. Well, that was a whole key point of the debate
Yeah.
too, is whether or not the three.
That
main
was another
religions
thing that a lot of
Abrahamic.
people on the Catholic side I feel like are coping over, because the argument that Jay and I were making was that the Catholic dogma contradicted itself. We weren't arguing that it wasn't about whether or not Vatican II was correct, that Muslims are basically sitting out, I think as Tim put it, sitting outside of the stadium, hearing the same concert, but it's a little muffled. That wasn't what we were arguing. We were arguing that at one point earlier, the church had dogmatically declared, dogma meaning that it is a firm standpoint of the church that cannot be questioned, that Islam is a heresy that is violent and wrong, and Muslims do not go to heaven. And then later on in Vatican II, and I think the 1960s, they come out and say, no, well, you know what? They're on the same path. He's got the spirit.
I will say really quickly,
But
I think
that's-
Tim
so-
asked this on the show, but I want to clarify with you before you finish that point. What exactly is Vatican II? Because
It was a Catholic council.
right, but like, what was the context of it? Like, why did it happen? What were the points that were made? Like, just
I don't remember all of it off the top of my head right now, but
Okay.
basically it was kind of like the Council of Trent, where the second council of the Vatican.
okay.
So it was the same idea of like, hey, let's clarify some things.
Because like a lot of things had been changing and happening within the church and within
It had
the
been a
world
while.
itself. Yeah,
It had been a
they
while.
were like, all right, so things are happening. Let's figure out what
Yeah.
we like and what we don't.
So Jay and I's argument was not whether or not Vatican II's perspective on Islam was correct. It was that Vatican II's perspective on Islam contradicted an earlier dogmatic council's opinion on Islam. Therefore, the Catholic dogma contradicts itself, which means that it's not infallible, which means that you can't argue for papal infallibility and Catholic infallibility and say that the church is indefectible and never gets anything wrong, because as with the lesser situation of the Templars, they contradicted themselves. And that went right past, and I'm not sure if it was deliberate, the Catholics were deliberately ignoring it or what, but them and Tim Pool, it went right past them what we were saying. And I was trying to clarify that, but Jay was more concerned with attacking me than allowing me to explain our position.
He was biting the hand that was feeding him.
Yes.
My brain hurts. This is
Imagine-
too much.
This is what's going on inside of mine at all times.
Yeah, imagine
feel
having done this for 4 years.
Like, the amount of information that has entered my brain in the past, like, hour,
The
that's
only
my, that's my response to that.
the only reason this works is because we'd be doing this anyway.
Yeah.
In high school, I'd go over to his place.
This is just what we did in my basement.
We'd go into his basement, play video games, and I'd just be like, "So what's this?" And listen to him rant for 10 minutes and be like, "So how does that affect this?"
Yeah. This show is just a continuation of what we were already doing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
It is, right?
I'm really happy.
Yeah, we monetized friendship, which is kind of cool.
Capitalism.
Yeah, guys, let's talk about that.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so the finish up your point about what the Vatican II conversation was.
That was my point.
That was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was just the argument that Islam and that we weren't arguing about what Vatican II said. We were arguing that Vatican II said something contradicting a different council, which might have been Vatican I. I can't totally remember. There was a lot going on.
Was the Council of Trent Vatican I?
No,
Okay.
that was Trent.
So what was Vatican
Also,
I?
great Catholic channel, by the way, Roman Catholic channel.
Mhm.
The Council of Trent, council spelled C-O-N-U or C-O-U-N-S-E-L, like to counsel someone.
Yeah.
Great channel. Guy is awesome. I was listening to a lot of his stuff on the way down to the debate, trying to better understand the Catholic position. Also, one of those guys who like doesn't call everybody a heretic while he's explaining the Catholic position. Very charitable. And also, he gave us a shout out about our Tartaria video a little while back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so good. Seems like a good dude. Like him a lot. I would love to, at some point, maybe have him on Weird Bible.
Wouldn't it be great if conversations between people of opposing beliefs,
They can be.
was constructive and
They can be.
respectful?
They can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, oh god, I gotta pre-read this one. It's from Gomp.
Oh, no.
Vishnu's in it.
Why is Vishnu in it?
I don't know. One of his bodyguards is on maternity leave. As a
Okay.
result of Vishnu.
For 9 months in Ireland.
There's a lot of inside jokes happening.
There's a lot of inside jokes happening here.
Telemachus 2814 has been a member for 2 months. Thank you.
Thank you.
This one's for you. Arbor Irrigation Installer for 545 says, Twunk Aiden, 10mm would be a great switch. Better than 45. Great at short and long range. I use it in my hunting pistol, and I might switch to my CCWs to it. Well, first off, don't tell people what your CCW is.
If you tell them the caliber, that doesn't really matter.
You never know.
Also, I want people to know I stay strapped.
Yeah, that's valid.
He's strapped right now. I can see it. I'm sorry.
I've already said enough. I have to
I'm
apologize to my priest too tonight.
Sophie, you're great. We got to media train you a little bit.
I'm getting fired.
No, you're not getting fired because you fit in too well here.
Alright.
No, you're getting flogged in the basement.
Now I gotta media.
Yeah.
Now we're getting canceled. You're getting fired because we're canceled.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a whole thing. Yeah, now you're not going to get the college credit you need.
It's okay.
It's a whole thing.
Are you here willingly?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I need you to say that on camera.
I'm here willingly. I'm not against my will.
Also, clarify that you are not in the basement right now.
I'm not in the basement right now.
Okay, cool. I think we've covered our tracks.
Aside from the fact she looks like she's being held at gunpoint.
She's not. I'm not currently strapped.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
He's not. I was lying. Can you get in trouble for lying on the internet? No.
No, you can't.
Yeah, actually you can.
Actually, that's most of what the internet is these days.
Yeah. So you're safe.
So people can do that? Just go on the internet and lie?
Don't believe everything you read on the
Gee
internet.
whiz.
All right, what's the next?
The next one is MGC quote magic unquote onions is a new member. Nice.
What a name.
Oh my God, Arbor sent 4 in a row. Okay.
You know you can just do a $20 one and it gets you more character. That might not be enough characters even. Okay, anyway.
Yep. 45 ACP reference, 2 World Wars, valid. I've mentioned my Raptor before, Killdozer, K1LDZR2. I recently went trail riding and picked up a friend. How do I get
Is
that?
Is the word Wendosi?
Yeah, and milk.
Okay.
Out of
There's absolutely no way I'm going to be able to explain this to my priest.
no. I hope he doesn't watch this.
I don't think he does.
Good. History Unhinged is
If he does, I'm going to find out Sunday.
Yeah, it's valid. I'm sorry, Arbor, I can't finish that statement.
Okay, let me read it.
Uh,
All right. Oh. Oh.
yeah. Anyway, so that's that.
Club soda maybe,
Yeah.
and maybe some borax.
Pine Sol?
I don't think you should use pine sol on leather.
I don't know.
Can you use pine? I thought it was for hardwood.
It is
Hydrogen
technically.
peroxide.
Might do it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway, moving swiftly along.
not swiftly enough. What? What?
Something sounded like it just went off, but all the cameras are still on.
All right.
Anyway, I probably just have PTSD from cameras shutting prematurely. Probably.
Okay, Amanda.
History Unhinged is y'all's best content. And
Thank you,
Who's
I
the
think.
badder Bible Biosh? Jao or Judith? Jail or Judith? I don't know. What does that mean?
I have enough to apologize to my priest to already.
Anyway, moving swiftly along to Mark Nichols for $10. Says, Mattis has cojones for stepping into the ring with Dwyer and Gordon. Mad respect.
Thank you. I don't know if that was balls or ignorance and stupidity.
You knew you were unprepared, and you knew that it was probably going to devolve.
I
You were right.
as I've been explaining to people, from what I understand, the guy they were trying to get before me was Charlie Kirk, and I felt like unprepared me was way better than that.
Yeah, because he's not an apologist at all.
No, he argues with teenagers for a living.
Yeah, he came to Westchester and like caused a whole scene.
Yeah, he does that.
I remember when the year before I went, Gavin McGinnis went to NYU, and I was like, that is the most wild choice that he could have made.
Oh yeah. Dude, like 2015 to 2019 was a weird time.
It was a really weird time.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird the fallout that's happened from that. Not
Yeah.
unexpected by any stretch, but like what's unexpected is like the weird ways that the
Oh yeah,
fallout
it got very strange.
Yeah. Anyway, Pseudo Legend 999 or 4999 says, "Here, have some psychic damage.
What's it say? You can read it.
She chimp on my hand grenade, or no, she chimp on my hand till I grenade."
Okay.
Yeah, all
Did
right.
Chimp change his name?
Probably should. That was in fact psychic
That
damage.
was all right.
The Rude Canadian says, "Hey, any updates on your legal battle with Bigfoot?"
No, Morgan & Morgan hasn't given us money in a while. I can't continue the story until they do.
Yeah,
I am going to try, now that we're doing what we're doing, I'm going to try to start weaving all of the ads together into a linear story.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I think that'll be a better way of doing it, where people will actually care what the ads are. And then every once in a while, we can just post the ads as their story.
The saga of the sponsorships.
Yeah, see how I weave Factor, Delete Me, Flexi Spot, and the others into a story about Bigfoot kidnapping Amanda or something. Exactly.
Amazing. Arbor said, "Unlike my boyfriend's boy period, I'm cool if y'all are late." I guess because we were late to the show.
We were late to the show. I accidentally wrote a longer script than I intended to this week.
Yeah, and also PJ showed up late to our.
Yeah, it was the whole thing.
Yeah,
We were supposed to shoot at 4 and then didn't start shooting till 5.
the show that we were supposed to film before at 3 to 4 didn't start until like 3:45
Yeah.
because
3 and 4 and 5 were all in there, and we did film at those times.
6 was afraid to 7 because 7,
Yeah.
8, 9.
Exactly.
Yeah. A real cartel pilot says, when will the Lodge be on Pepperbox?
Working on it.
We don't have anything good to give them right
That's been our main problem. Give us ideas for like Pepperbox content, because it can't be what we do on this show or on Lore Lodge, because History Unhinged may be coming to Pepperbox really soon, actually.
What is
That'd be cool.
Pepperbox?
It's a streaming service run by our buddies at Unsubscribe Podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, so look up what a Pepperbox is and it'll make sense.
Okay.
But
The real problem also is that, like, it would have to not involve you because you don't have the time.
that's the problem, is like History Unhinged, we can do it because we can just shoot an extra episode
Yeah.
and like us going around and doing silly stuff. We don't have an idea of what would be the Pepperbox exclusive Lore Lodge show. So if you guys want to let us know, please do. The biggest problem is that I don't have time to research anything. So it would have to be something that doesn't involve me doing research.
But the thing is, it would also cut into
Like,
your
yeah,
research time.
exactly. Like, now we could do stuff like ghost hunting. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Sorry.
The problem is that the amount of editing that goes into a ghost hunting video
I could not do.
is insane.
Yeah, I've already begun offloading editing responsibilities because I don't have time for that and running our business.
Yeah. So please give us low research, low editing requirement content ideas, and we'll get on Pepperbox. We'd love to. It would actually help us to pay for the things we need to do Pepperbox and
Ghost
everything
hunting
else.
really require that much editing? I mean,
Multiple cameras, audio. Yeah, it's a lot.
Think
but
about
what if we just do like a Shane Dawson 2-cam handheld walking around a place?
Not high enough
Basically.
not high enough content quality for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, also, like, keep in mind...
Also,
like,
isn't that the guy that like boned his cat?
Well, we didn't have to mention that, but
Wait, is this a thing?
Oh yeah,
no, well, okay.
allegedly.
I'm not saying I don't support Shane Dawson by any means, but I don't think that he did
That
that.
okay? I don't
This
know.
is the problem with existing on the internet is now, like,
Who was the other guy that was popular around that time who had the like?
Onision?
No, definitely not Onision. Listen, there are very few people who I will say are going to hell, but he is one of them.
what did he do?
Everything.
A lot.
I know his name.
We'll do an Onision deep dive later.
Okay.
Just continue.
Okay. Anyway.
It's best if we don't mention his name too many times. He might appear and molest us. What?
All right. Anyway, moving swiftly along to Griff for $10 says some PTSD
Moving
money
briefly
from my
along.
favorite. What?
Moving griffly along. Sorry.
No, you're
Continue.
fine. You don't even. You have no idea what that just like shocked into my neural
I
cavity.
really don't.
Not the original, but the updated version of the Thomas the Tank Engine theme.
Okay.
There's an updated version of.
Yeah, from like the 2000s.
Just read the chat.
Anyway, Griff said some PTSD money for my favorite barking dog. That was ridiculous. One dude actually was actually trying to have a debate, but the other dude was just like talking over everyone. Probably thinks he won too. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't shock me that he's on InfoWars.
No, it does not.
Anyway,
One of the guys from InfoWars actually tweeted about Tartaria because he watched our video.
that's cool.
Yeah. It's
Based.
fun.
Anyway, Maggie Bogomolny? Bogomolny. There we go. Sorry, I may have dyslexia. This may be a weird Bible idea, but would you ever do a video on why the heckity heck people like to think that early Jews, like in the time of Abraham and before, were polytheistic?
Yeah, I actually could do a Weird Bible thing on that. I think I've just got to be okay with our Weird Bible recorded content not being to the same degree of rigor that our Lore Lodge content is, and make it more like our early Lore Lodge content, where it's just a quick like 10 to 15 minute overview of something, because that'll allow a little bit more content to go up over there. Because right now it's just like Wendigoon's doing stuff and we're doing stuff, and we never have time.
Yeah. If we really want to make it like happen and worthwhile, we're gonna have to essentially do what we do with History Unhinged with that.
Yeah, but it would be hard to get Isaiah and us in a room together for a week.
Yeah. I think really the only feasible way to do it is if we kind of rotate guests.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yep. Anyway, Tyler Dalrymple says that debate was hard to watch. Catholic dodged every question. Orthodox was in attack mode, and Tim didn't moderate. Everyone just yelling over each other. Having said that, as a Protestant, Orthodoxy won. I will say Tim did his best.
Yeah, Tim tried very hard. I just don't think he was like equipped for that level of esotericism.
Yeah, well, not even just a quick. I don't think he expected it to go that deep.
No. I think he was expecting it to be a lot more surface level and more sociological than ecumenical.
Especially considering the questions he had prepared were all much more surface level and social in certain elements.
Definitely.
Yeah. But given what it was, I think he did a good job. And
He wanted us to talk about the culture.
Well, and also, let's be fair, like, he did his best to try and stop the train, like, crash from happening.
There were several times where he and I just looked at each other like...
But also, like, even when there were moments where he was trying to, like, dial you back, not just the other guys, because, like, you know, he was trying to move the conversation along. The problem is, like, especially, like, you wanted clarity on one specific thing, and Jay just would, like, he couldn't stop grilling people on just random things. But, yeah, it's a shame. Arbor says, I was raised Baptist but became United Methodist when the General Conference voted to affirm...
What?
What do you think? Relations.
Oh. Gay?
No.
No?
Windowsy. Yeah. This is our cross to bear.
Yep.
The audience we've cultivated is our cross to bear. You guys are great, by the way.
I did not know that the Baptist Church affirmed that.
Every time you say Wendussy, I hear Windussy, and I'm like, window.
Realistically, either of them would be proper spellings.
Okay.
Wendigo and Windigo are both considered correct.
I was thinking of like a window.
No.
With
To the wall. Sorry.
Okay. Anyway.
It's nowhere near the worst thing. That slow 7-3 says, "May the milk blesseth all the 7-3s." Yeah, I need it. I need to bring mine in to get an oil change and all the stuff. Just an oil change. What happened?
There is rainbow puddles in our driveway.
Not what I was talking about. I was talking about the Instagram thing Kat sent me earlier.
Oh yes, you can read that.
Yeah, love is chill, love is dank. It does not thirst, it does not flex, it is not extra. It does not cancel others, it is not sus. It is not salty, it keeps no receipts. Love does not spill tea, but rejoices with the woke. It always stands, is always fam, is always goat, always slays. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7.
I was wondering where that was going. That's phenomenal.
Well, it's
basically the message.
it could be worse, I guess.
I will say, of all nights to do it. Of all nights to do it, random passage, we're on Ithulu's third speech. When God makes creation a classroom, Elihu lit into Job again. Sorry.
What, did you just pick a random page from the message to read? Okay.
Yep.
You got to do it in the Trump voice.
No, I can't.
You can.
Not today. Not
Why
tonight.
not?
Because too much of this has been like actually like good. I think this in and of itself is enough.
Okay.
Does this kind of thing make any sense? First you say I'm perfectly innocent before God, and then you say it doesn't make a bit of difference whether I've sinned or not. This feels wildly appropriate for the argument element of the show. Well, I'm going to show you that you don't know what you're talking about, neither you nor your friends. Look up at the sky, take a long, hard look. See those
Tell me you don't want to read it in the Trump voice. Look up in the sky.
All right. Well, I'm going to show you that you don't know what you're talking about. Neither do you or your friends. Look up in the sky, take a long, hard look. See those clouds towering above you? If you sin, what difference could that make to God?
Mm-hmm.
No matter how much you sin, will it matter to him? Even if you're good, what would God get out of that? That's it. I'm done.
Okay. Can you give it to me? I now that she sent me the Corinthians thing, while you go to the next one, I'm really
Okay.
find Corinthians.
Arbor said, but for real, I was out of church for a long time, but the UMC allowed me to experience true grace. Now I sing in the choir and play the handbell choir. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's so drastically different from the majority of the messages you've sent tonight.
Yeah. Also, Methodism is a good step towards the other ones.
Incredible.
Where is it? Okay. Huh? Wait, what? Huh?
What's up?
Pardon? What?
Do you have a Bible app?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so 1 Corinthians 13:4 through 7 is different. If I give everything I own to the poor and even go to the stake to be burned as a martyr, but I don't love, I've gotten nowhere. So no matter what I say, what I believe, and what I do, I am bankrupt without love. Love never gives up. Love cares more for others than for self. I have to flip the page. You know the pages of the book. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. Love doesn't strut. Doesn't have a swelled head. Doesn't force itself on others. Isn't always me first. Yeah, this isn't as funny in Trump's voice.
I will say, I just want to interject here. I don't know if you've seen this, but apparently while the show was happening, Trump came back early from the G7 summit and has requested the National Security Council to meet in the Situation Room.
Can we not go to war with Iran right now? Like,
I had a dream that we went to war with Iran.
Did you?
Yeah.
well, maybe you should stop.
Sorry. It wasn't a nice dream. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah, it's about to be, apparently.
I'm not going to die for Israel.
I'm not going to die because people want to make money in the Middle East.
Stonks.
Stonks go high. Look, Lockheed Martin's great. I don't want them to make more money by sending me to death.
Hang on, I'm checking my Vanguard portfolio. That's how we'll know.
Yeah. A bunch of the guys, a bunch of congressmen bought like Raytheon and Lockheed stocks last week. So
Yeah, things are up.
yeah, can't wait for the announcement.
Bye, guys. See you later.
I swear, if there's a draft,
They're not going to need to draft us to go to war with Iran.
Nobody wants to go. Even that's what you guys were saying on IRL.
Dude, it's not even. It won't even be boots on the ground.
Oh yeah, it'll just be drone strikes.
They still fly F-14s.
Yeah, fair.
They're incapable of seeing the F-22 coming. I fear,
Oh, I know. Trust me, I know the capabilities of the F-22.
I fear for the people of Iran.
Yeah.
I do too.
They don't want
My
this.
friend's family's from Iran. This is bad.
really?
Yeah.
It's just such a pointless war.
Extremely.
Like, Israel already took out the nuclear facility. It's done. It's over. Like, we're just going to keep doing that every 10 years.
Who was it that made the point on the show that it was like just the consistent moving goalpost that actually is never
I think it was
moving?
Anthony Calabasas.
Yeah. It was such a great point too.
Yeah. Just every 5 years, Israel's like, they're going to get it.
And then the U.S. is like, they're gonna get it,
Yeah. So,
and then they don't.
yeah. It's great. Love it.
Love this timeline. Anyway, moving swiftly along. Magdalenus Rex for $5 says, I'm Orthodox. Didn't watch the debate because I knew it would end up like this. Debate culture is toxic. Online EO/RRC makes me prefer Orientals at times.
Oh, yeah. I agree that the online discourse is horrendous.
Yeah.
Thank God I know people who are actually Orthodox and Catholic in my real life.
Yeah.
Because, like, some of our best friends that we hang out with all the time are Catholics.
Yep.
And we agree on probably 99% of things.
Yep. Yeah. The internet just makes everyone worse.
Yeah.
So that's a good reminder to us and yourselves. If you're ever feeling like things are bad,
Go for a walk in the woods.
go for a walk. Say like hi to your like local barista. It might even be Sophie.
Yeah. Come see me, guys.
Yeah.
If you
Don't
like
tell them
me,
where.
if you like me, or
Don't tell them where. For your own safety, don't
I'm
tell
not
them
telling
where.
them where. I'm not telling them where.
It's safe enough to say you're a barista,
Yeah.
but you know,
Ooh, all right.
I don't know. We don't want anybody weird showing up and causing problems.
We don't want her to have to also stay strapped, you know?
Yeah.
How do you? I'm just kidding.
Freddie Coria says, "Have you guys ever read up on the Vince McMahon stuff?"
McMahon?
McMahon, I guess.
That's the WWE guy.
Yeah, pretty much the Diddy of pro wrestling.
What?
Yes,
He-
yes. And wait, is this the one who murdered some guy?
Huh?
I'm sorry. Maybe that wasn't Vince McMahon, but somebody lived in a mansion around here,
A
and
McMansion?
he was like a
Oh no, that was
That was a different guy.
Foxcatcher guy. What was
Yeah,
his
that
name?
was the DuPont.
yeah,
DuPonts. Yeah.
Ponce. Yeah, never mind.
No, apparently he did something on a girl's head, according to this super chat. I don't want that in my search history to figure out if that's true.
I'm just gonna look up Vince McMahon. You know.
There's gonna be a lot of memes.
Okay. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Hurricane Maddie for $5 says, "When did Yins go on a right-wing rage bait debate show? There was never going to be a point made or a winner. It's just a show, or it's just for show. They don't really care."
I had optimism.
This was kind of like what I thought.
They're
was gonna happen.
extracting the last bit of optimism out of me.
You know what this kind of reminds me of?
What?
This is what I thought. The optimism you had is the optimism I had of bringing Tyler on.
Yeah.
So now you know what it's like.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, Yins, did you happen to watch the U.S. Open yesterday? Because that was really entertaining. That was the most Father's Day thing of all time I've ever done. I'm not a fan of golf, but it was really entertaining to watch because apparently this golf course that's outside of Pittsburgh is extremely difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how like whenever you flip on a like golf tournament, they're all like 8 under par? They were all over.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's an incredibly frustrating golf course for most people. They hate playing it as pros. And there was one guy, I can't remember his name, but he, like every other shot, he nearly broke his club. Like there was one point where he was in a bunker that was probably like 20 feet down, and he was shooting, if this is the side, he was shooting off the side, trying to get out the other side. Missed, landed on the other side, and like 3 times just slammed his club on the ground. So many people were missing putts. Everyone was upset. The guy who won was an American guy, and he was like, I don't know how this happened. He was like, because like he had been behind,
Aren't
and
most good golfers like American and Scottish and Australian?
almost nobody in the top 10 was American.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There was like a Danish guy in there. Like, yeah, it was all over the place. But it was raining a ton.
Wait, was this a different one from the one I saw on TV? Because Tiger Woods was in first for something.
No, that was a
Woods
replay.
Still plays
Oh,
golf?
okay.
Yeah. So that was on during the rain
I thought
delay.
Tiger Woods still played.
He does, but he wasn't anywhere
Got
near high enough in this one, if he was even in it. But no, that was a replay that they were
Got it.
playing during the rain delay.
I never watch golf, so I don't know what's going on.
Neither do I. So the hour I
All I
spent
know is that
watching
like
it
there's the
was-
PGA, and then a Saudi prince was like, "What if we did golf as well?" And then had his own tour.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you hear Whistling Diesel's living in Dubai now?
What?
I don't know if that was bait, but like
Did he piss somebody off?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is he on the run? Is he a fugitive? Did he do it?
I
Did he use it? Did he use it?
Not that I'm aware. The video would be out already.
That's fair. Or would it?
That's a valid point. Well, the TikTok that he
Recreating Killdozer gone wrong.
said, gone right. Well, actually, no, because if it went wrong, he wouldn't have gotten out of it.
That's fair. Well, no, that is how it went.
Yeah, so I guess wrong would be surviving.
Yeah. Anyway,
Dr. Glorfindale's been a member for 10 months. Wizards Workshop says, I know it's overdone, but closer to the autumn Halloween season, I would love to see your two's take on the Salem witch trials and other American witch trials. That would be
yeah,
good.
could do a video on that.
Yeah,
Be a fun one.
yeah, that'd be really good.
The true story of the Salem witch trials.
A real cartel pilot for $20 says, there's flooding in Wheeling, West Virginia. By giving offerings to the coal god, they angered the nuclear god. We must repent by offering Sludge Grumpus over a coal pyre and enslave his firstborn in the uranium mines. Praise nuclear. Well, we do like nuclear here at the lodge.
So none of those words are in the Bible.
What about praise?
That one is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sludge Grompus isn't.
Could be. You ever care to look?
Nope. Aiden,
Darn.
Hang on.
I'm going to read the next one.
No, I got you. I'm almost done. I'm here.
I can't see the next one.
Well, Sergeant Bunk has been a member for 9 months.
Thank you.
And for $5 says, anytime the Vatican II was mentioned, all I could think were cheesy sequel movie titles like The Vatican II Reloaded.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Matt, I was like, this summer, Vatican I. Now get ready for Vatican II. But I just
Vatican II Reckoning.
Vatican II, 2 popes. Wait.
Yeah, what will be another good one?
Vatican II, Escape from Rome.
Yeah, there we go. Man, I'm having trouble thinking a good one here. Vatican II, The Revenge of the Altar Boys.
Oh.
In a world where Rome has been destroyed, Vatican II, Constantinople.
And the theme song's like a really slowed down like rock version of
Oh, yeah.
Constantinople.
Yeah.
In Constantinople.
There we go, yep.
Istanbul. Constant. Bow, bow.
There's like a saxophone solo for no reason. For every reason.
This summer, Rome is fallen.
I love it.
Vatican II, Rome has fallen.
Yeah.
The Christian sequel to the series.
Yeah, literally. Morgan Freeman once again reprises his role as God.
Yeah. Oh boy. In a world with a pope from Chicago.
Wait, yeah. Wait.
Vatican II, 115 years without a World Series. Took him a while, dude.
What was that? Is that the Sox or is that
I think
the?
it was both.
Yeah,
Neither of them.
Yeah.
I think it was the Bears specifically, though.
yeah, the Bears. The Bears is what I was thinking of.
Vatican II, Da Bears.
Da Bears.
I really want the Pope to say "Da Bears" in it.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah,
That would be great. What is bear in Italian? Is it like
look it up.
it's like Orsini or something?
Colotini. I don't know. I know it's or in French.
Orsa.
Ah, da Orsa. Da Orsini.
Da Orsini.
Orsa.
The Orsini were actually a prominent Roman family too, and I think it was Alexander the Sixth. I didn't get to bring this up either. Had an affair and children with one of them.
Oh,
Yeah, crazy how the papal elections are guided by the Holy Spirit, and they just keep accidentally electing people who do the most aggressive sins.
Yeah, my real grandpa might be a priest.
What?
Like for real.
what?
Yeah.
Hey, wait. Say that again.
Mm.
That's some lore right there.
Yeah. Yeah. My alleged grandfather may not be my real grandfather at all. It may indeed be a priest from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He's
No
dead
way.
now. But I think that's why God hates me, because I'm the only grandchild of him.
Vatican II, the Pope's bastard.
The Pope's daughter takes Rome.
Okay,
What was the story of Joan of Arc? Is that even relevant? Like,
No.
relevant.
would not be relevant to this.
What was she doing?
Well, depending on who you ask, either being guided by the Lord himself or heresy. Really depends on if you're
Crazy.
French or English.
She could have been crazy, right? Maybe.
Might have had schizophrenia. It's really, the English probably would have argued she did.
Really?
Mm.
She was hearing voices. The question is, were those voices God or something else?
To be fair, weren't most prophets hearing voices?
Yes. Don't.
Vatican II.
Don't.
Well, there was a burning bush.
Okay, just read the next chat.
Ellen at Howler Werewolf Queen for $49.99 says, number one, you missed my second $50 donation last week. Sorry about that. I don't know how, because I checked twice, like Santa. Two, would you be willing to have this debate over the live show with, say, Windigoon? I feel like he wouldn't really want to do that.
Probably not.
So probably not, just for his sake. And then number three, would you please remind me of your address so I can send you a DVD One, it's one both mom and I have loved since the childhood. Yes. Email us and we'll make that work. Hollyhocks. Are we on BoJack Horseman right now?
I don't know what that means.
Have you ever seen the show?
A couple episodes.
Hollyhock, his sister? That was his sister, right? Am I
Don't know.
remembering this correctly?
Okay.
Oh no. Anyway, Ortiz gave us 10 something PLN.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm grateful though. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Autismosaurus for $2 says 2 barking dogs check, Mattis. Love you boys.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
That was such a random
Yeah.
insult.
Yeah. It was weird.
Yeah. Anyway, EB202 or EB202nd for $10 says, while hungover, I told my brother about Tartaria, and he said Tartarians had something so far up their something that if they found it in the back of their throat, they'd claim it was a Tartarian structure. Which is
I like
great.
that one.
Hollyhawks is asking, when is Sexy Calendar?
We're working on it.
Yeah.
It will be this year. I promise. I promise we will shoot it this year, even if we aren't sexy.
Yeah.
I'm making a declaration. I declare it.
Is this dogma?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Are you
Got
sure?
That dogma in me.
Got that dog in me? That needs to go on a shirt.
That needs to go on a shirt. A shirt.
A short. That needs to go on a short.
Yeah, short.
Yeah.
That's short.
TikTok short.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna
That
have.
I will edit.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna be doing them
of
soon.
Myself. Yeah.
Rain the Zoark for $20 says, this is unrelated to anything happening today, but have you ever considered covering the Jonah Lopez missing persons case?
Never heard of that name
You
before.
wanna?
I will look into it.
Kellen says, what about the 13th apostle, Rufus?
What?
Rufus du Sol?
I don't know what's going on.
Incredible.
Joanna Lopez, by the way.
Joanna Lopez. There we go.
Maggie Bogom. Sorry, this is a really hard name for me. Bogomolny.
Let me see it.
Bogomolny.
Let me see it. You
Bogomolny?
Bogomolny.
Bogomolny. I don't know. There's so many.
Buy one, get one free.
Maggie
Yeah.
for $5 says, if Mattis likes whiskey and coffee, y'all should do a bourbon whiskey aged coffee. I started making some for cold brew and I love it. We have to talk to Matt.
We did try one from a local company. It would have been great for like coffee cocktails. Not a good coffee.
No.
It was bad. It was tough. Now, granted, that might have just been that specific company's version. I won't say who because we like their other products, but was not good.
Valid.
Would have been great for like an espresso martini, but was not good for just drinking coffee.
Yeah, makes sense.
Great candle though. Would make a great candle.
Zechariah Rausch for $10 says, okay, but what about the fact that women Christian leaders were obviously written out of the narrative? The three Marys, Thecla, Phoebe, Priscilla, and Junia.
There weren't women written out of the narrative.
What is she referring to?
I'm honestly not sure. There's a bunch of random heretical texts that have to do with like women who here's the thing. They're not heretical because they involve women. They're heretical because they're obviously not in line with the vast majority of the texts. Women weren't written out of the narrative. The narrative is what it is. There's no evidence that it included any of these things.
Sad.
I can't, I don't have enough of the information sitting in my brain right now to just go into it. But like, for example, there's like the Gospel of Mary. It's obviously a late forgery. There's the Gospel of Thomas, which is more a collection of the sayings of Jesus. We don't have, there's a reason we don't have Enoch. Just because a text exists which mentions something and claims to be a piece of Christian scripture doesn't mean that it ever actually was.
Got it.
A lot of it's just later forgeries meant to support Gnostic heresies.
Interesting. Abigail Stewart, who's been a member.
Once I have some time later in my career, I will do stuff on this.
Fair.
Can we have the Aiden Mattis version of the Bible?
No.
Oh God. Hey. Rude.
What would it include?
I don't know.
I just mean like without those said forgeries.
Okay, I don't know.
I've
what's
never read the
happening
Bible.
anymore.
I don't.
Oh no, those. I think his point is that those forgeries aren't in the Bible,
Right. Okay. Good.
which
Good.
is why they're forgeries.
That's good. Yeah.
I'm concerned what an Aiden version of the Bible would be.
It should probably be like holy water's actually milk,
Yeah.
or sorry, strawberry milk. There we go, or chalky milk.
Also, like, I should bring up that, like, some of these things aren't people being written out of the Bible. They're like Priscilla, for example, not written out of the Bible.
Who is Priscilla?
She worked with Paul. Not written out of the Bible, just not a central figure. You
I
know?
think-
like the Old Testament is full of important women, like Ruth and Esther.
Yeah.
Like there's entire books dedicated to women. Mary is in my opinion over venerated by the Roman Catholics, who at certain, like, I've seen Roman Catholics say that the thief on the cross was saved because Mary prayed for him, and I'm like, that is weird. That's a weird claim to make. So there's this. It's really just certain sects of American Protestantism that have written out the female characters of the Bible. That doesn't exist in the high churches. So that's why it's frustrating. It's like there are certain small sects that do diminish the value and the importance of women in the Bible, but they're heretics.
I don't like them.
Yeah, if you read the Bible itself, there are several women who are to be venerated.
I was having this conversation with Kat over the weekend. It was about the Constitution, not the Bible. But I feel like a lot of these instances where people are having conversations and debates about specific topics that, like, for example, for the Constitution, are and are not constitutional, most of those people don't know the Constitution well enough to really be able to determine whether or not that's actually true.
Yep.
And I feel like this is true also for biblical arguments.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know how you can read the Bible and come to the conclusion that Mary and Mary Magdalene weren't important, and the other Mary. There's three Marys. It's a whole thing. Some people argue about which Mary is which. But yeah, like there's an entire book dedicated to Ruth. Arguably, I listened to an amazing talk by the late Michael Heiser on Genesis 9, and how Ham walks in and sees his father's nakedness, and then Noah curses Canaan for some reason. And it's implied that it had to do with something Ham did to his own mother. We're not going to get into that on this show, but yeah. So no, women are very important throughout the Bible, and women are given positions of great importance in the early church. They just weren't priests.
Was there ever given a reason within the Bible of that?
I don't want to answer that question without having a chance to go and do some study really quick.
Fair enough.
So
Abigail,
I just don't want to misrepresent anything.
No,
accidentally.
that's the smart move.
Yeah.
Abigail Stewart, for 9 months, a member, says, for holy water to make holy water, the water that has to be more than half holy water, that's Pope people have Pope water.
Huh?
Yeah, no, I read that intentionally, confusingly. For holy water to make holy water the water, punctuation, please. For holy water to make holy water, the water has to be more than half holy water. That's what it is, I assume. Hope people have Pope water? What? You did this intentionally.
Oh, definitely.
Essentially, holy water, it needs to be a 51-49 minimum mix for holy water and water for it all to then become holy water, is what Abigail is saying.
Hang on.
This generation.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, the prevailing custom is that it's at least half of the holy water has to be half of the water has to be holy water for it to be holy water. So half of the water has to have been, more than half of the water has to have been blessed by a priest.
Yes.
So if you have a gallon of holy water and you have a half gallon of not holy water and a half gallon of not holy water, then you can make 2 gallons of holy water from 1 gallon of holy water by mixing it into the other half gallons.
So what we do is we need to just slowly increase.
There is an exponential rate of increase here.
Yes. And then we get it to the Great Lakes, and then all of them become that.
Yeah.
And then when that water hits the ocean,
Okay.
it still wouldn't be enough. What if they bless the
Well,
ocean?
as we know, at least half of the water in Africa must be holy.
Yes, because the rains have been blessed.
Yes. Anyway.
Yes. Gaylord Zipkowski for $5 says, "Have you heard that you are I heard that you are a purveyor of the blade, Mattis. Let me know the next time you are in State College. I would enjoy having a few bouts."
Ah, perhaps.
Perchance.
I do need to get back up there.
Yeah, that's fair.
I wish we could like inspire enough attendance to do a talk up there or something, or do a live episode of the show.
That'd be cool. Mr. Dilo, who's been a member for 9 months, says, "Sorry if I'm too late, but I need to let y'all know that I'm going to nibble on your cholesterol, Samuel Leroy Jackson, while you sleep. Love y'all."
Okay.
I don't really entirely know what that means. I'm a little concerned. Magnaladus Rex says, "Gnostics are like communists, sad but necessary."
Huh?
Gnostics are like communists, sad but necessary.
Why are they necessary?
Like agnostics?
Like maybe just like as a reference point, something to
I guess, yeah. In a way, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
yeah, like you need the dark to know the light kind of deal.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
If something's not challenging your beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know them well enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Agamemnon's gym bag for $5.68.
Still a great username.
It's amazing. Still waiting on that lodge tour. Also, nice to catch y'all live again. Milk and bone trees and 4,500-year-old fish. The man
Woo.
salmon.
What a series of things.
What a series of references.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As for the lodge tour thing, what?
I don't know.
Have you been to the lodge?
No, still waiting on the lodge tour.
Or did he mean he wants us to give a lodge tour? I thought we did that at one point on a live.
Maybe like a personal lodge tour is what is being asked for.
I mean, if you come to Blobfest and get me some like strawberry milk, maybe.
Yeah, there you go. People brought it to you last
They
year.
did.
Yeah.
The offering.
And
An offering.
it didn't kill you.
An offering to the Lord. What?
It sounded very close to Warlord.
No, it's not a cult.
Oh, we'll have to call the ranch Gothland.
Okay.
Yeah. A real cartel pilot for 1022 says, Matossi is off HRT. Time to baptize the intern in fire. Our Archie who art in floof. Hallowed be thy awoo. Thy milk come, thy milk done in Ohio as it is on the ranch. Give us this day our daily milk.
Amen.
How do you feel?
I feel like multiple flashbangs just went off all around me at the same time.
You feel like Steven during the Tartarian
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
And Sophie, how do you feel?
I felt weirdly comfortable with that. So,
Yeah, she belongs here all
I was
right.
going to say, you fit in a little too well here.
yeah, I'm kind of worried about that. Should I
Yeah.
be worried about that?
Considering it's only been like 2 weeks and like you've been here like maybe 2 days max, I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I've known you for like a year.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. You've been
I
aware
met
of our
them-
existence.
I met them on a bad Hinge date. God, I hope he's not watching this. There's no way he is.
Is
But
that
I literally, we were walking around and I was literally networking and ignoring this poor man and just talking to them instead of being on a date with
Don't
him.
remember this.
This was at
Was
Blob.
I there?
Yeah.
I don't think you were there.
Yeah, this was at Blobfest, but you had like left for a little bit to do something.
Okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember she just kind of materialized at one point at Steel City. I
Yeah.
didn't know what was going on.
Yep.
Well, you keep that memory.
She's here now.
Yeah. Well, because you had come to the booth and we were talking about film stuff.
Yeah.
And then you were like, well, I need an internship. And I was like, well, we need an intern. And, you know, it just kind of eventually happened after a year.
Yeah.
So I guess, I don't know, how much have you watched our stuff since then?
Intern doesn't even watch the show.
It's honestly probably for the best if you don't. You're on it now.
Well, whoa, this is a lot of pressure.
It's okay if you say none.
No, I think I watched some of your earlier stuff and then I just
Let that
didn't-
coast.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I didn't want to taint myself with the content, you know?
okay.
Like, what if I got too into it and then I'm like, I'm a huge fan of the Lore Lodge. Let me work for
That's
you.
actually so valid.
I'm being
Yeah, it's fair.
professional, is what I'm doing.
That's fair. Fair point.
Professional about it,
Yeah.
you know?
Fair
You've
point.
done well.
All right. I
Anyway.
would like to go home at some point.
Yeah, so would I. Agamemnon's gym bag for 1776. Nice.
Great number.
Says, a long time ago, I was told that fish being an exemption to meat on Fridays is due to nepotism from a guy who went to Catholic high school. I feel like you're the person to ask about this.
Oh man, there's definitely something to that. I can't remember if it was specifically nepotism, but it was. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm blanking on it. I remember what the reason was. I just can't find it.
We're going to have to do something on it.
Yeah, here, I'm gonna look it up.
While you do, Wyatt Gilliams for $5 says, what are your thoughts on the theory/prophecy of the newest pope being the last pope ever? Well, as Mattis frequently likes to say, do not attempt to interpret Revelation. However, I will say there's a surprising number of things in there that seem to be happening.
If I believe that I believe what this person is referencing is a prophecy of the popes that predicted who all of the remaining popes would be, and how when that last pope comes to pass, there will be no popes afterwards because something's going to happen. And everybody's always like, yeah, you know, it starts with like the 1200s and then it predicts all of the popes correctly up until the modern day. And if you look at, I think it's St. Peter's Basilica, there's little things for all the popes. There's little portrait holes, and there's only one left after Francis. And it's like, yeah, on that side of the wall, if you look at the rest of the wall, there's more spots for popes. Also, the document gets all of the popes from like 12 something to 15 something correct. And then after that, it only gets 3 of them right, which suggests that the document was created in the early 1500s and backdated to the 1200s in order to seem like it was authoritative.
Yeah, also, I was going to say predicted or guideline?
No, they get everything wrong after a certain point.
Oh, okay, got it.
It just starts getting things wrong.
Got it. Kellen's been a member for 14 months. Thank you. Jacob Baker for $4.99 says, what's your take on the Baptist faith? Why do you hold to your denomination over mine? Genuinely curious since you are so learned on it.
I mean, coming from a Methodist background and having been raised by somebody who was historically Baptist, I think that there are a lot of really good Baptist churches. I think that Baptists are some of the most intentional, most Bible-focused Christians out there. But at the same time, the lack of a central structure means that some of the best churches you're ever going to go to are going to be independent Baptist churches. Like Wendigoon said, the best churches he's ever been to were independent Baptist churches, and the worst churches he's ever been to were independent Baptist churches. Because when you don't have a central structure, you can't manage heresy. You can't manage bad teaching. So I think that what the Anglican Catholic Church and apostolic churches overall have is accountability. If somebody is preaching things that are inaccurate or dangerous, there is a superstructure that can remove them from their position and can condemn them, or in some cases, pull together an entire council to have the church as a whole decide on something. So for me, it really is the accountability issue. You know, when I look around and I see the Joel Osteens of the world and what's the other guy? The guy with the devil eyes.
Yeah.
Creepy dude. What was his name?
I'm going to look up Devil Eyes. Devil Eyes.
Not Billy Graham.
Express your joy.
Preacher. Devil Eyes Preacher. He's going to come up.
Kenneth Copeland.
Kenneth Copeland.
So,
which is amazing.
Yeah. Joel Osteen, Kenneth Copeland, and then, you know, even just getting down, like like those Pentecostal churches where they're all speaking in tongues, but all they're doing is saying gibberish. Biblically, speaking in tongues means that you're speaking another language you don't know. Like, it's not just gibberish, which is what it is in all these Pentecostal churches. Like Mormonism, for example, probably wouldn't exist without American non-denominational Protestantism. Dispensationalism also grew out of the fact that there was not a central governing body. So I think that while smaller independent churches do have the benefit of being able to do introspection and question authority, misplaced authority, I should say, they also do have the downside of being particularly susceptible to heresy, which, if from a Christian perspective, heresy is bad because it leads people to damnation. You know?
Yes. Oh boy.
What?
No, I went to go to YouTube.
Trump mobilizes for war.
Tim, your thumbnails and titles are so clickbaity. It always.
Oh
gets
yeah,
me.
but he does it for a reason.
No, I know they work. But every time a notification comes up on my phone, I'm like, God damn it, Tim.
Yeah.
But I went here to go check out and see if anybody's done a deep dive on Kenneth Copeland, because I really want to see someone do that. But it's just so funny to see the first thing that pops up is Trump mobilizes for war.
Dude, we could do Kenneth Copeland. I already can see the thumbnail. Just him with the laser eyes.
Yes,
like,
yes. Dude, I'm so ready to do that.
Yeah, like preacher of Satan.
Oh, he's gonna come after
Kenneth
us so
Copeland,
hard.
preacher of Satan.
Do we want to do a Kenneth Copeland video?
Maybe. Let us know in the chat if you want us to do a Kenneth Copeland video. All right, get back to it.
All right, yes. Cake says, Aiden did the best he could in the debate whilst being insulated and not listened to. I enjoyed what you had to say and think they're very ignorant.
I appreciate it. I could have done better, but I do appreciate it.
Sam Swope for $20 says, hey guys, first live I made it to. I've been listening on Spotify since 2022, and y'all have helped me survive 2 jobs and many long commutes. Also, I'm in Phoenixville cat sitting right now, so it's funny y'all are right.
Oh, no way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Glad that we could bring some positivity to your life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's still kind of weird to us that happens.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, if you see us out and about, say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you like the bars, we'll buy you a drink.
Yeah.
If you like coffee, we'll buy you coffee.
Yeah.
We like meeting people.
We do.
Stress Test, which is a sweet name, for $5 says, the idea that theology shouldn't dictate politics is untenable. Theology is where you derive your moral framework. Voting to enable sin isn't moral. I will say, I was just thinking about this, and I feel like if you had the church and the state relatively equal powered, but the church was run by, some form of theists, and the state was run by atheists, and they had to agree on something,
yeah,
I feel like that would be a pretty solid means of, kind of like you said, no science research facility should be allowed to do
anything
experiments
without the most annoying philosophy student possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like when you have two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, I think my point in saying that is not to say that Christians shouldn't vote for. My point in saying that isn't to say that Christians should vote for non-Christians. It's to say that just because the Bible says that a woman shouldn't lead a church congregation doesn't mean you can't vote for a woman to represent you in Congress. That's more what I was saying. I'm not encouraging Christians to vote for things that are anti-Christian.
Yeah.
I think that would be silly.
He's just saying it's like, hey, the church doctrine does not mean that's how you should live your entire life.
Yeah. Also, I mean, Jesus was very clear that, like, there is the church and there is the state. They are not to be one thing.
America, founded on Jesus' principles.
It was. Crazy.
Pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Anyway, Guinness77 Girl, love the name, says, yay, gotta catch a live. Love you both. Thank you so much.
Woo.
Kellen said they had F-14s. It looks like they're gone now.
Yeah, I saw that video, yeah. It was a video of, like, looked like an Israeli drone just taking out F-14s that were on the tarmac in Iran, and it was captioned, "Good night, sweet prince."
Oh, God.
Yeah, basically this looks like it's probably the end of the F-14's operational lifespan.
That's nuts.
Like, Iran's probably the last country to be flying F-14s.
Wow.
And they're not flying them anymore.
Yeah. Also, Kellen, I need to know more about your thoughts on Ahoy. Just saying.
And I need to call Kellen this week about the book.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's getting more and more relevant with every passing day.
Her Royal
I'll
Pain
text
for
you tomorrow
20
morning,
bucks
Kellen, and if
said-
I don't, you text me.
Yeah. Her Royal Pain for 20 bucks says, was almost essentially rebaptized again. My fam knows what's my family knows I'm a witch, and I cannot stand Christians trying to force me to be them. Why are Christians so wanting us to be with them and judge us? Donating also for your nickel fetish.
Well, I mean, the Christian perspective is that we want to make sure you don't go to hell. I mean, just blatantly, like, people are... Now, I'm not telling you that there are not Christians out there who are just trying to make you conform. Those people exist. But the proper reason for a Christian to want to convert somebody is out of concern for their soul. But we're also told not to push it. Like, we are told to be there, to spread the word, to answer when asked, and to, in some cases, preach publicly, but not to chase people down and try and force them to change their ways. Now, we're also told not to necessarily be too close to people who are anti-Christian. But yeah, if somebody is trying to actively force you to convert to Christianity, that's not how it's supposed to work. You can't force somebody to become Christian. They have to want to become Christian. So the idea is give them reasons to want to be Christian, not try and convince them that they're going to hell if they don't.
Yeah. And that the reasons to be Christian generally would be like just positive elements of normal life.
Well, that's part of the problem, is that Christians are supposed to model themselves after Christ.
Many don't.
And a lot don't. Which is another place where I think having... Like, I am fully expecting I'll probably get corrected by my priest on a few things in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
That's supposed to happen. And part of the reason we have priests is to do that.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, stop it. And then we listen to them because they know better, is the idea. We're allowed to have conversations with them and ask why and disagree with them. But it's probably best to not try and force people to convert if they don't want to.
Yep. It's just the respectable thing to do.
Yeah.
Dr. Glorfindel for 10 bucks says, thought you guys should be among the first to know that I'm moving to Phoenixville in August.
Oh, wow.
Long time in the works, but now finally pulling the trigger. Gonna be cool to live in the Lore Lodge country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome.
Well, hope to see you soon.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
You can come out and we'll buy you a drink.
Yeah. 100%.
Come to Molly's karaoke night. That's where we go.
That is a good time. That's
where we go.
I owe Cat a karaoke night. It's been a while.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be able to on Thursday, yeah. Magdalenus Rex for $2 as the last super chat says,
Woo!
No, as in unaliving them all in Albany?
Albany? What?
No, as in unaliving them in Albi?
I don't know what she's talking about.
I don't know either.
I don't know what's happening.
Hang on, I'm going to the last super chat that they sent.
I thought I saw it.
Maybe. Who was it that sent it?
Magdalenus Rex.
Yeah, hang on. Oh, yeah, there we go. Gnostics are like communists, sad but necessary.
Oh,
As in
no.
unaliving them all and...
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I don't... Oh, no.
Oh, no.
For legal reasons, I'm not going to comment on that.
Yeah.
What's that last one that came in?
Yeah, Can Help with Games gave us $100.
Oh, Lord, thank you.
Thank you very much. Said,
Wow.
Thanks for the live, y'all. Also, sorry for the on Discord. I'd love it if you ran that meme short. It's been a great few weeks since I joined this Discord and community. Thanks for being awesome, y'all. Love the content. Hey, thank you so much.
I'll have to go look at what it was.
Yeah, you can add us.
I think I said what or something.
Yeah,
because I just didn't understand what was being asked of
that's
me.
fair. No, people at me all the time. I think
that's part of the problem is we get added so much that I just don't know. Like, it just goes right over my head. But all right, I am starting to develop a splitting headache. So
I really need sleep. I hope our management doesn't yell at me because I'm almost certainly not getting the ad done tonight.
no. like that's we have jobs to do. All right. Well, thank you everybody for hanging out. It has been so very real. I don't know which camera to look at right now.
Middle one.
That one. Hi guys. Anyway, thanks for being here. Thank you all for supporting what we do. We really appreciate it.
Say goodbye to the intern.
Say goodbye to the intern.
Hi. I
There
don't
we
have
go.
to come back if you don't want me to.
You're there. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry.
It's also up to you as well.
It's really more up to you. You have free will.
What?
Yeah.
That's all.
She does have to sleep on the basement mattress, though.
That's not in the contract.
We do keep her in the basement when she's not working.
Yeah.
There is a mattress down there.
She's like an automaton.
Yeah. There's also some snacks, probably. I think there's a few bottles of
I get
water.
free jerky. I get free jerky.
She does get free meat sticks.
Yep.
Sponsor us.
Pearson Ranch meat sticks are so
She's
good,
already
man.
doing the thing.
She is. She gets it.
She gets it.
She's a natural.
We need more.
We do. We do. All right. There. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.